Hey folks, good evening to you all. Welcome to another Money Space with me, Kalu Aja. On this space, we're talking money, the economy, and of course, finance. I want to talk around those topics about money, about your wallet, and of course, make you a better investor, and of course, a better citizen. This week, there's just no way to talk about anything without talking about the big elephant in the room. And of course, that's the designation by the president, President Donald Trump, that Nigeria is a country of particular concern, right? The CPC. So I want to talk around that, but the economics of it, right, and see what does that actually mean for you as an investor. You hold bonds, you hold shares, you're holding dollars and naira. Does it mean anything to you? Should you be worried? How do you diversify away this risk? Because it's a risk, right? What do you do? What does it mean? That's what we want to talk about this week. I think Olumide is going to be here as well. Olumide is also covers lots of foreign capitals and markets, so he's going to bring us a unique insight. But let me just, if I may, just walk us through what this means, the CPC means in terms of the economics of it. And I think I just shared, I think the last tweet I shared on the space, you can see where I shared the wording from the State Department on what a country of particular concern means. So let me just read it for you verbatim, and I think this sort of would guide us because this tells us what it means for you in terms of your money. Essentially, when the president, so let's just go back. The United States passed a bill. I don't start going to the names of the bill, but it's a bill that passed that basically says they monitor religious freedoms across the world. And in that bill, every year, they then have to publish a report. That report will then say this particular country or this entity is not keeping in line with the tenets of that bill. Right? That's essentially what is going on. They will then tell the president, hey, we believe this country or this entity has not kept up to the tenets of religious freedom. When the president gets that information, the president will tell the Secretary of State to go ahead. That power is delegated to the Secretary of State to designate that nation or that entity as a country of particular concern. This is where it matters to us. So let me just read this verbatim to you. In those cases where the Secretary of State designates a CPC, i.e. country of particular concern, Congress is notified. And where, now pay attention, and where non-economic policy options designed to bring about a cessation of the particular severe violations of religious freedom have reasonably been exhausted. So in essence, when the president nominates or tells Congress that a nation or entity is in violation of that act of religious freedom, Congress is notified. They take what was called non-economic policy options. So they write to you, they dialogue with you, they say what's going on, that kind of stuff, which is what they are doing now, right? After that has been exhausted, economic measures, and this is the key word, must be imposed. So it's no longer an option. Once the president tells the Secretary of State to designate you, and you are so designated, then there's dialogue with you in terms of, okay, what's going on? Should we use this? Should we support you in this way? If that fails, then the United States has to, the word used there is must be imposed. An economic measure must be imposed. That's when I talk about sanctions, all that kind of stuff. So it's a very, very serious thing, right? Why have we not seen anything happen? Because the Congress in America is closed down. The House is out of session completely. The government is shut down. The Senate might be in session, but the House is not in session. So if you go back to what the president said, when the president designated, that's President Trump, designate Nigeria as a CPC, right? He authorized the guy, Mr. Gaines, or so, who's a congressman, to go back to Congress and then to begin negotiations. But there's no Congress to go back to. So in essence, all what we've done from that time till now, not necessarily happened because there's no Congress for them to go back to then start to do the non-economic policy options. That's why I saw the president come back and reissued that statement that he did on Twitter, but this time under the seal, under the flag of the presidency. And you heard him say, this is the legal definition. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to cure the tweet by saying, listen, there's no Congress, but I'm giving you the same authorization under my seal, presidency, and flag, and I'm authorizing you to go ahead and designate Nigeria, which means you can start negotiations, and if negotiations fail, then we want to have economic measures imposed. So we don't have to play with that statement. The stuff we're doing in Nigeria right now is childish. We're tweeting and we're behaving as if it's nothing that we can. It doesn't matter. It's a very, very significant development. As Olumide will let you guys know, Olumide, I've invited you to speak. If you take a look at the impact in Nigeria, the last 7 days, the stock market has gone down every day for 7 days. The bond market has stayed stable. As a matter of fact, Nigeria issued about 2.6 or so, 2.36 or so billion dollar bond. It was oversubscribed. We'll get to that why it was oversubscribed, but it was oversubscribed. The Naira has been fluctuating. If you notice, before the CPC designation, Naira was on a steep upward climb. It was getting value almost every day. Now it's sort of moderated. It's up, it's down, so it's uncertain there. So someone's going to say, but Kalu, bonds are doing well, equities are not doing well. So that means that there's no impact per se. When folks invest, we invest in what we call rotation. So if I'm investing in, say, Nigeria, I put 100 Nigeria, I rotate my cash. If there's risk, right, that's when I make money in stocks. But if I take my money out of stocks, I don't take it maybe out of Nigeria, I put it in bonds, which are safe. So if I'm riding the risk roller coaster, which means I'm investing in stocks in Nigeria because I want to get a higher return, I'm okay with the risk. But once the risk becomes elevated and I believe that the risk cannot cover whatever potential returns I would make, then I exit the risk market, which is stocks, and I go into the safe market, which is bonds, which is what investors in Nigeria have done. They've left the risky market, which is stocks, and they've gone to the less risky market, which is bonds. So you look at this, the Nigerian bond market, not just Euro bonds, but across the board, money market and the rest, seem to have sort of firmed up a bit. Like I said, Olumide is going to take us more into that. And then we then have the Naira is still, sort of dancing here and there. But that's where we are. Because the smart investors are saying, well, let's see what's going to happen. With the Nigerian government would engage, and if the Nigerian government engages, that might lessen the uncertainty, and then we can see if we want to come back. But we simply cannot just say nothing is happening and think that we'll just walk over it. Yields have tightened, which means there's a bit of risk factor in holding in Nigerian stock. Risks have tightened, or yields have tightened, so that's something we want to watch. Remember, guys, broad strokes, last year, this year, anything emerging markets has done better than the dollar-denominated assets and dollar-denominated, securities. So even before the CPC, from last year when we had the tariffs and we had the uncertainty with the election of Donald Trump, the US dollar weakened. Tariff uncertainty caused folks to abandon US bonds and go to emerging market bonds. So you notice that for stocks, for bonds that were issued by non-dollar or non-US entities, that particular asset class has done better than US dollar bonds and the US stock market. So Nigerian stock market, for instance, is doing better than the US stock market in terms of the performance of the index as a whole. Same thing, Nigerian bonds and all other emerging bonds are doing better than US issued bonds if you measure that by like an ETF spread. So that trend was already there, that folks are leaving the dollar and America to go to other currencies and other commodities and other countries. It's already there. With this CPC designation now, will that continue for Nigeria in particular? And of course, how do we weigh in the falling US rates with what's going on? Olumide, welcome to the party. We're talking, yeah, I mean, you know, we're talking about them there. Just,
Yeah.
just because you do a lot of reporting covering Nigeria, covering, should we say, other jurisdictions, Europe, America. What's your sense of this CPC destination? Is it affecting Nigeria in any way economically? If I'm holding Nigerian naira, should I be worried?
Definitely. Good evening, Carl. Very great space, great topic, and well done to what you're doing, empowering a lot of people with the rights and very important discussion in terms of misinformation and disinformation. You need to understand that a lot of people don't have access, particularly in this part of the world, don't have access to quality information because quality financial information is quite expensive. You know, when you look at subscription on Bloomberg, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and look at all trading software to really get on top of the best information, is really out of reach for the average Nigerian. So yeah, I think this discussion definitely will make a lot of sense to a lot of people and really allow people to have that flexibility on adjusting their risk appetite. Yeah, when the most powerful man in the world talks, definitely the market listens. And you can't sideline the speech of a man that controls 18 nuclear submarines that at any point are underwater and ready to cause any harm. You can't exclude a country where the budget for defense takes more than 10 years for Nigeria to complete the total federation budget. You can't ignore a country where just one state, California, has a GDP equivalent to Africa. You can't ignore that country, you know. So when the president made that speech, even though it looked like semantics, I felt that it was quite worrisome because, first of all, you need to understand that Nigeria is highly dependent on the United States for a lot of things. The dollar, for example, plays a huge role in FX reserves holding, plays a huge role in transaction. Nigeria is under this network, so and the United States practically controls it. You know, the even currency. You also look at the fact that one of the most systemic economic tigers now, Dangote Refinery, also has some affiliation with the United States in terms of it gets most of it imported from the United States. The United States also buys. So there's a lot at play. But to go to the politics, I think headline when I heard, I was pretty much concerned for the stock market. Though I felt the stock market was overheating because it rose so fast in October, and I felt that the fundamentals were not so justified. So I expected a pullback for it to really break above the 120 to 150 trillion market cap. And unsurprisingly, you saw that it stalled when it got to 99. So Donald Trump's statement really pushed that trigger. I really read what Carla have been saying on Twitter, and I think a lot of people are exaggerating that rotation. And I also agree with the fact that when people were saying our bonds were oversubscribed, that is confidence, I think that was kind of exaggeration and why. Because if you look at, we are going to a low yield interest rate environment. So for a country like Nigeria offering 8% euro bond was bad news for the market. In fact, I spoke with a lot of bond experts and they were telling me that it really tells you that they love worrisome for Nigeria to be getting 8% because at the worst part, I think the worst we've ever got in terms of euro bond yield was 6 point something percent. I can't really remember. So we got 8, so it was really bad. So when you look at that macro, also you look at the fact that we are paying premium to get dollars, it shows that you also have to be very well. Then you look at the geopolitical consistency in Nigeria. Nigeria is highly divided. You know, this is one of the most divisive elections we've had, the last presidential election, where the person in power just got 1/3 of the total electoral votes. And we have the Muslim president, Muslim vice president, that has also heated the politics at some point. So, you know, with that coming in play, Kalu, honestly, I was scared and I had to start trimming down my Naira expectation because I was heavily exposed to that feedback from 2023 to mid 2025, and at some point I was just like, okay, let me start looking at other markets. But with the Trump incidents, it really made me look at the market more trimming. So I'm not surprised that the market is pulling up, and I honestly expect that if the government of of the day don't take this threat seriously, I think it's really going to harm us, because America is a country you don't want to mess with. America is a country you can't ignore. And when the argument that people are talking about resource fights, I'm not a geopolitical expert. I'm talking from a market perspective. I'm saying that the fact that Donald Trump mentioned the fact that they're considering sending warplanes to hit the nation. And I read New York Times where there were the aggressive, moderate, low plan, where in this case, drones or the aircraft carrier might be involved. I think it's really very concerning, Carlo.
Yeah, I mean, it clearly is. When someone is seen in public that they are drawing up plans, and the Secretary of War, that's his title, says yes, he's drawing up plans that may involve kinetic strikes in Nigeria. Of course, we have to sit up as investors. Let me give you another data point, and I've got Cyrus here as well. I see folks talking about the US and all that China and Japan, China is supporting Nigeria, Russia is supporting Nigeria. Let me give you a data point, Nigerians. As of December 2023, right? The total, just the total debt. Let's talk in percentages. The total debt Nigeria owes to foreigners as of December 2023. 56% is denominated in dollars. So 56% is denominated in dollars. 40% is denominated in IMF, what we call SDR, special drawing rights. So between the IMF and United States, that's nearly 99% or 98%. Euros is just 1.22% of the total debt that Nigeria owns. What about the Chinese yuan I hear you guys saying? The Chinese yuan is 0.92 of the denomination of Nigeria's total debt. So what that means is that even China, when China lends money to Nigeria, somehow they're giving us dollars, not yuan. So it's cute to go on Twitter and say, hey, we support Nigeria, but the point is that we're overexposed to the United States of America and to the United States dollar, right? So this is that's at December 2023. So yeah.
I just wanted to add what you said. I think this is why I'm very concerned that the political experts are not talking, because China is symbolic in terms of the Nigerian economy. Yes, you could argue that the biggest we import a lot from China, yes, in terms of trade. But when you look at the economy holistically and you look at the cultural interaction between young Nigerians, especially Facebook, Google, Meta, the crypto markets, investing, you will understand the advantage the United States have. And another thing that is very worrisome is that, Nigeria's foreign policy, which has this kind of neutral, where we don't have a firm stand on whether we are pro-Western or pro-Eastern, now is playing a disadvantage. Because, for example, if we were pro-Western, for example, it would have been so easy to really lobby. You look at certain West African, for example, African countries, for example, look at Egypt, for example. Egypt has an military alliance with the United States. It gets over $1 billion, and at some point, when Egypt went errands, they were pulled back because of that. And so Nigeria has so many disadvantages right now. And I think for me, I think what the president should really do, because we said that the macro right now is being upgraded. Things are looking better on the macro. You can't look inflation, despite the fact that it's been rebased. It looks like it's going down. You look at the fact that interest in money markets at some point was at an all-time high. So this is not something we want right now. And I also feel that the Ministry of Finance and the CBN right now don't have the ammunition to do what the Russians did when they faced sanctions there. Because you need to also look at how much Nigeria truly has in terms of foreign reserves. Can we really stand a fight against the United States? Then look at drawing board, look at our military. You look at the military. I'm not a military expert, but when you look at the CIA handbook, latest because that's where I get my military analysis from. You look at country per country. You look at the military strength from it. It means that it's like a elephant ant fight. So I think the resolution what the market expects, and it's up to the president right now. A political solution is the best. I think a meeting with President Trump and President Tinubu will come next, and also a kind of arrangement on the fighting, because you also need to understand that President Trump didn't just say these things out of the blue. He has a very strong base, the evangelicals, and those really brought him to power too. And the campaign, I've also been seeing this Christian killings on many Western nations, and it has been triggered. So while you could say it's been exaggerated, but the truth of the matter is that these killings have really propelled so much concern among Western Christians, and that's really where the president really needs to unite. So coming forward, I expect that the next election, this Muslim thing, I need to reconsider that. He also needs to bring in the Americans in terms of trade, because see, I for once, I'm not anti-China, but I think if you look at culturally, Nigerians are more affiliated with Western culture than the Asian culture, and I think it's an advantage we need to play with, because many Nigerians use Facebook, many Nigerians use Google, many Nigerians use Twitter, many Nigerians, we hardly see, apart from OP and some of these payment companies coming from China, you rather see you see most Nigerians prefer Western tech. So I think the president really needs to play that balance approach. Speak with President Trump as soon as possible. That will come for the Naira account. I for once, I felt that the Naira had all the positivity in play, and the fact that Dangote was trying to double his output, despite the fact that it had operational challenges in the second quarter. That also boosted the Naira profile. Then also the Eurobond oversubscription added some FX in the profiles. Then you look at FX demand is reducing, because now for a lot of Nigerians, including me, we can use our cards outside the country. So the need to hold dollar cards become less necessary. So I think that has brought in some positivity for the Naira. However, concerns remain, because we're entering the election year, and we've seen that the fiscal side, there's still significant point of mismanagement of in terms of currency movement. The currency in circulation is still very much, despite the fact that the CPN has tried so much to reduce that, but I think it's so much, and I think that will play in next election. So for me, I think the safest is that the Naira was trying to meet Rabju's projection, where it oscillated close to the 1,390 mark, but after Donald Trump's declaration and things like that, we saw that the Naira was still ranging between the 1,422 to 1,405. That tells you that you really need strong pointers to break below that 1,300. But if the Naira can stay till like that December, because a lot of Nigerians will be coming in, I think the Naira has little concern. So my major concern in the market right now is the equity market and what the money market is seeing.
Gotcha. Let's bring in Cyrus. Cyrus, I know if you were here when I started off, the CPC basically has two-step process. The president says Nigeria is a CPC, and Congress now works with Nigeria, where Congress cannot work with Nigeria on a non-economic basis, right? Then America must. They put the word must is there, must implement economic measures. Cyrus, what's going on here?
Absolutely, Carlo, and thank you for having me. Good point, Olumide. So many things, and I think I made this point. It was not yesterday on the space. And first and foremost, we have to look at all our fiscal assumptions, right? And I think it was 2 weeks ago when I was talking about our capital inflow, because if you want to talk about Nigeria strength economically, you have to look at your capital inflow, and a lot of our capital inflow, even the so-called Naira stability that we are talking about today, is because of that, and a lot of them has been within the realm of portfolio investment, which is what we're talking about today, stock, bonds, and the likes of them. And then there's no way you have a tension, a diplomatic goal between Nigeria and the United States, and you will not have that tension in the capital market and the financial market as a whole, right? So for me, what I feel is that first and foremost, optic. So what does this mean? What does this mean to our credit rating? Our credit rating for the past few months back has been relatively positive, right? Moody, Fitch, and the likes of them. And but if this goes on and the government, given how the politically, they might think that this is how they're going to approach it, with Trump and the United States. It may not end up well. I was having a conversation with someone, I think, about last week, and one of the things, the person is from the United Kingdom, and a research intelligence person, and one of the things that was on her mind, according to her, on investors' mind is, come on, guys, what's going on here? What's happening? Is Trump coming? Is there a military plan being drawn up? They just want to know the feel of what's going on. Like, okay, what's going on in your country and everything. And I was trying to play the devil's advocate, or like the country's advocate, of saying, you know what, trying to placate the whole thing and say, but they are getting the message. And when they are getting the message, what that means is that, they will respond the way they feel to save their money, because these are high risk, high reward environment, and for them, they will respond. And the sad part of it, so just suppose like I said, our fiscal assumption is the issue of how we even assume our budget in the first place. We assume $70 per barrel crude oil. Crude oil currently is selling between 65, 64, about, there's a projection that might go down. So there's a projection that might go down to 62 or to 60, even while there's a good master projection that in next year crude oil might sell below $60. I don't know. And then you have a situation where I said, go back to the capital inflow. You're not getting any FDI in. And the majority of your portfolio investment is in bond, right? And I don't want to talk about, I don't have this, but the way I see it, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it, is this CGT, for most investors, for most of the things I read and things I saw, it's not helping the matter itself. Then you now have Trump. You now have Trump. The federal government today has been using securities, loan securities and whatnot to finance all its expenses. That has been what we have been doing so far. So then you have the Trump effect. Then you ask yourself, how are you going to navigate this? So it's not really a positive thing. It's not really a good thing. And for those who don't even understand, what the end game is or what the objective is, the thing might come as a shock when Naira start to fall. Because what is only the Naira is two things, right? The rollback of intervention program of CBN. So that's demand side, right? They are trying to ration what they are doing out there. Unlike before, where we have Ministry of Poultry, Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Rice within the CBN. But now we have some kind of scaling back of that. And secondly, the high interest rate that is driving, ultimately inflation in the country. Now interest rate is falling, right? And it's because the economy is moderating, which means that the incentive is no longer there. So what could be like the safety net for investors for the Naira would be stopped, right? And when you have an uptick whereby the credit rating is down, there's a diplomatic rule between your business investor. Nigeria has 21% foreign investor in its stock market, right? That 21% foreign investor account for about, $1 billion, about $890 million, right? About $1 billion, right? 90% of them are from United States. 90% value of those numbers are from United States. So when you have that situation, you're not getting more money from oil, not getting more money from bond and other areas whereby you can use to shore up your reserve and stabilize the currency. I can guarantee you, if this goes on and on, you might then see Naira taking, the downward swing, and that cannot be good. So for me, it's not positive, honestly speaking.
Gotcha. And just to emphasize that Congress is not in session. So whatever Mr. Donald Trump has said, they have not started the clock. There is no Congress in session. So we are designated. It has to go to Congress. Congress will then negotiate. When negotiations fail, then the economic measures come. And Sarah, just to give you a data point, I heard you mention about Nigeria being funded by the Foreign Portfolio Investment. In the year November 2018, Nigeria borrowed about 1.1 billion. That bond has now matured in November. So in November, Nigeria now borrowed this new 2.35 billion. In 2018, we paid 7.6% to borrow 1.1 billion. Today, we're paying 8.6% to borrow 2.3 billion. We're going to use this oversubscribed bond to pay off the November bond. So essentially, we're still owing that money. We're just going to pay it off, but now pay a higher interest. So what then happens if the rating agency say that Nigeria is a higher risk nation and our bond rating or our credit rating now goes lower? Right now we're at GUNK. It's a financial term. If they take us lower, that means our cost of borrowing goes higher and our oil output is lower and when our production is lower as well. So you can see the dark clouds gathering. Let's get Malam to hop in here. Malam Batiside, how are you doing, Malam?
Yeah, very well, Mr. Gado. Thanks for always doing this. Yeah, so Trump's focus on Nigeria. I think for me, the first thing is the short term is risk of safety. Whatever the outcome will be, capital is a coward. Nobody likes uncertainty. Will Trump invade? Will he not? Will they have a diplomatic, way of sorting it out? The bottom line is that people are going to find safety. And the longer this drags on, the worse it gets because, we are considered as the last week, as a high risk environment. People, if I have a way of mitigating the risk and then, taking the return. But now that things are not looking like we're going to get into, troubled waters, people are going to definitely take out their money as much as possible. Right? Bloomberg covered this, I think, last week, and that's to the extent that Nigeria is part of the OPEC country. Naturally, if we are significant enough, this should be a bullish pressure on oil price, but we're not that important.
So let me say, okay, you say that because of this threat, the oil price should have gone up if Nigeria was a major contributor to the oil output. That's a good point.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because we are not. So the supply cloth, oil and water, production that is also coming on stream, overwhelmed all of that, and then so it now looks like it's just a drop in the ocean. Yeah. So for me, the longer this drags on, whether Trump invades or not, the longer this drags on, the worse it becomes. Because, like somebody said, that risk of migration is also there. Your bonds are going to get cheaper. People are going to demand more return to take because it's going to be high. Even T-bills, you are going to start seeing that people are going to be looking for shorter durations because you don't want to get stuck. We don't know what might happen. So all those 365 days are no longer be as popular as So I just feel like things are going to get tougher, regardless of the outcome.
What's your out? What do you think should happen? Do you think the government should, of course, we've heard Olumide say that, we've heard Sarah say, you think the government should basically just have a meeting with Trump and explain what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is the time not to be political, not to try to be politically correct or try to save any political future. I think the government should be as sincere as possible. And be as plain as possible and explain exactly what is going on. Don't try to deny when people are dying. It's actually really frustrating when something is real and people are suffering, have suffered losses. And some persons are saying that it is not happening. I think they should just be as plain as possible and then try to work with the American government to see how to find a lasting solution.
Because it's a funny defense to say there are killings, but it's not genocide. We know there are killings. I think the issue is it a genocide? Because once it's a genocide, the US government is mandated to come in. I don't know if people understand this. That's why they don't call it. If you say it's a genocide, the US government is mandated because of Rwanda and all that to come in and stop it. There's some law I don't know the basis of. I think that's why Congress has to then get involved and say, yes, we agree that what's happening here is genocide. That's the thing we have. There's no Congress in session. If Congress meets and says, we agree with the CPC of the State Department that what is happening in the Middle Belt or the North, whatever, is genocide, then all better. They don't have to invade. like you said, the bond yields go up, the bond yields go up, the economy, we're not pumping oil. So it's a big, big, big risk there. Olumide, I just want to bring you back in. Talk about, Batches talk about the oil output. We are still at 1.6, 1.8, right? Um, that's a crazy number when you consider the NNPC is saying we want to be at 2 million in 2027. But right now, our budget for this year is supposed to be 2 million barrels pumped out. That's what makes us borrow this 2.35 billion. So now we have borrowed the true 2.35 billion, but there is no 2 million barrels exported. What happens if we keep on borrowing, but we don't have the oil to back it up? What happens?
Definitely, it's a technical saying bankruptcy, but I think the Nigerian economy is a bit complicated right now because you understand the fact that the 1.6 million barrels we are producing, the operating cost is about between the last time I checked around $39 per barrel. So it means that the margin Nigeria gets on the barrel is less than 30 as we speak. And don't forget that Nigeria is not the major producer. It has a joint venture agreement, so it shares the profit margins with ExxonMobil, Chevron, and all the other big players. So it means that we get paid probably about 60% of that. And you know that the benchmark in the budget was $75 per barrel. It means that we're already down almost $10 a barrel. So it's the dynamics is that things are already complicated. Just like what Cyrus said, what we pushed the naira, to be honest with you, the FPI is, and Dangote on the other side in terms of exports and reducing that dependency on petrol imports. I think personally that this could definitely trip on the downside because just like you mentioned, I can't remember that law, but if it categorically stated that Nigeria is running the Kinos, it's really going to have effect on American businesses. Don't forget that American businesses also run in the upstream sector of the Nigerian economy. And you also need to understand that in terms of banking, almost all banks in Africa rely on the SWIFT network. So if Nigeria is taking up like what happened to many Russian banks, then it means that the banking industry is in soup. So it's not a scenario I'm even wishing to imagine because next year crude oil prices definitely will hit lower. Goldman Sachs said they expect $50-$55 a barrel, and that's why I was already cutting down on my bullish expectation, particularly in the downstream sector coming, and with the likes of Dangote also aggressively taking market share. The president also approved 50% in tariff imports, so it's really going to hurt many of these petrol players. So it's really a very black picture for the energy sector. Generally, for the economy, I think it's a situation the president doesn't want to be. But Kyle, before I pass the mic, I want to say this. I think for many of places that you see, the problem is that we take things for granted. Yes, you could say President Trump can be erratic. You could say President Trump sometimes can be off point. But the truth of the matter is that these optics have been going on for a long period and been ignored. I think the president, I was so happy when I listened to one of the popular clerics and said that the greatest enemy around the president are the people that write his speech and people that advise him on certain things, particularly on how to push jobs. You see, optics is one of the most important things in finance. You see, sometimes you might not even have that substance, but the way you present it to the market means a lot. Because, like I said, Donald Trump doesn't really need to throw a bomb into Nigeria, but his speech alone has rattled the market. Last week, we were down 3 trillion naira. People are saying, no, it was just it got triggered because you also need to understand that investors are not, they don't want to be caught nappy, because we need to look at how we got to the place of FX backlogs. If, for example, we don't have enough FX, some fund managers might get stranded. So that's why we are seeing exodus in that part. So finally, I think for policymakers, I think it's a lesson for them. Let's stop all these Twitter attacks personally. Nigeria is bigger than personal interest. Nigeria is bigger than the interest of a political party. Nigeria is bigger than the interest of the social group. I think it hits everybody. nobody wants Nigeria to be attacked. But the truth of the matter is that we've allowed this thing to play for so long, and we've allowed vested groups to take advantage of that situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let's get Adekunle in here. Adekunle, I mean, you've heard a lot of opinion here. The Trump threat, the economy is basically being funded by FPIs. We heard a lot of this coming from Americans. What's your take, Adekunle? Adekunle Ade, I mean, how you doing, sir? You with us? Let's go to Ibrahim Abdullahi. Ibrahim, what's your mind? Ibrahim Abdullahi. All right, let's take.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. I'm glad to be here with you to share this opinion that all of you have discussion.
Sure.
My take to this information goes back to the vaccine and the impact of the invasion on our economy. So if we generally look at the situation, we get to understand that Nigeria is a big market, actually. So, not only oil, because we have almost everything. I think it's one of the few countries in the world that are good endowed with resources. So, the invasion actually is not bad. If the United States is coming here with a good hand, but we should look inward from the nomenclature used by Trump saying genocide of the Christians in Nigeria. This is what actually is the whole of the intent of coming to Nigeria. Mm-hmm. We all know, all Nigerians, even if you are not in the north, wherever you are living in the part of the country, you get to understand that there is genocide and there are killing. And the killing is not only specific to Christians, even the Muslims alike. Almost our leaders and politics the brothers, they see the bandits, they own the sort of what they want to, and they play politics in the whole of scenario. The Nigerian army, the politicians, all of them are eating from the forces of the bandits.
Yeah. Ibrahim, I really want you to keep secret. Your audio is just kind of muffled. I really want to hear more from what you're saying, but your audio is really muffled. But I did get what you are essentially that there's killings, but it's not genocide. So just to define genocide, I think the key word for genocide is intention, the intentionality, the intentional destruction of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. So if you are Trump, let's just say you are Trump, you are the president, you don't know Nigeria, your advisors come to you and say, this is not this year, your advisors come to you in 2017 and say, there are Christians being killed in Nigeria. And your advisors tell you that in 2014, 2012, Nigerian governors came to the White House and also reported to the US government that there was Boko Haram and that Boko Haram was being used to target Muslims in Nigeria and that was being funded by the president of Nigeria. This is what the governors from Nigeria came to the US and told you. You also hear that Boko Haram has been designated by the US, the EU, everyone as an entity of particular concern, and that Boko Haram now joined ISIS, and ISIS wants a caliphate. This is all factual. Then in your second term, you now hear that these same killings have continued that what you were told in your first term. Biden said the killings have continued, but because of climate change. So Biden agreed that there were killings, but just climate change was causing the killings. They tell you again that it's still continuing. Do you think that the man is right to say, listen, let's go to Congress and investigate this thing? Because the killings are real, but your point is that it's not genocide, but the intentional. If you go to the middle belt of Nigeria, is there no intention to drive people off their land?
Okay. You see, you posed some questions to me, for the Trump and all these reports in they are terrible before me. Of course, the United States is not a small country, and it's a country that has the influence over almost all other countries in Africa. So, and I believe every blessed month, a project about Nigeria is being carried out by consensus in the United States. So, invariably, whatsoever is happening in Nigeria, you as a Nigerian, the United States have more information about what is happening in Nigeria because they have the resources, they have the gadgets, they have whatsoever it takes for them to have the real situation of what is happening. Believe me, Trump knows a lot about what's happening in Nigeria. A lot of what's happening in Nigeria is known by Trump. What he should have done is just look at the scenario of what is happening in the country. It's a country that is blessed with a lot of resources. Nigeria is not poor, but 80% of Nigerians are living in active poverty. Because of corruption.
So just to be clear, Ibrahim, just to be clear, so you don't agree that it's genocide, just that it's just random killing, it's not intentional, because the genocide.
Yeah, because let me be frank with you. Of course, Boko Haram, because it's one thing for you to come and say I'm a Muslim, it's another thing to be a Muslim. You know what I'm saying? Because even in the Boko Haram, the position, even the leader of Boko Haram, so that man is not politically oriented.
I hear you, but I'm saying that, do you think the killings in Nigeria are intentional? People gather, go and kill people in a community at night. That's intention. They're not killing people in. Okay, but let's. Just because the composition of Fulani men, the composition there, you find Muslims, you find Christians. In short, most of the Fulani are not Muslims, because suddenly when the Arabs are fought, you will be asked to recite even the simplest verse in the Quran. They could not. Some of them will be asked to learn how to perform ablution. So they could not. Okay.
So how could they be attaching themselves to Muslims? Is it because of the image of the Islam or something like that? Because I am telling you, these people are killing us here.
Understood.
Because if you go to Katsina State, out of the local governments in Katsina, only 5 local governments in the city that are living in peace now. They're living in peace. So to the extent that even in Govir, the whole of area of Govir, that is the only Hausa committed with the north was killed, massacred,
okay.
Like that.
All right, Ibrahim. I appreciate. Understood. I'm not putting you down. Just the audio. I really wanted to hear more from your take. Just the audio. I appreciate your contribution. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add on to what Ibrahim said, and I totally understand where Ibrahim is coming from. And yes, it's true that Muslims are also killed, and it's not sometimes a good opinion this ethnic or religious. But you see, let me make you laugh. I've been in many Western countries that a lot of people ask me that how am I handling Boko Haram in Lagos? Their perception is that Boko Haram is in Lagos, Ibrahim. So you need to understand that the optics right now is that Boko Haram in that context is like an Islamic word to them, Arabic word or Islamic. And you also need to understand that popular clerics have been killed. And you see, evangelicals are using that as, because if you look at Fox, you need to understand, where is President Trump seeing these things? President Trump's what Fox News, you see. And I also see on Fox, you see many Christians. So it's the optics that they are seeing. It's not that particularly that they don't really understand the cultural or traditional. That is why I said that the government is not really doing a good job. And I said, I said sometimes what puts you in trouble is not even the problem, it's the optics behind the problem. Because if you magnify a problem beyond how it is, different interpretation coming. So it's not President Trump's business for you to teach him whether it is what the interpretation they see in the outside world. It's you that have to prove to them that, oh no, it's not this is what's happening. And you see, that is where you need a very powerful PR. And I've said, our foreign affairs, I understand the president is saying that not so much money for ambassador posting, but America is a very important country. America, UK, China, it's a country that you need high diplomatic presence.
You're totally right. Like in America, wall-to-wall coverage. It's not even Republicans now, because Trump has said it. The Democrats have picked up on it and are asking if it's an attack line they can use on the president. So everyone is now interested in Nigeria. And many people have sent me text: "Is this true? Are there really genocide in Nigeria? Is Trump just looking to divert from the Epstein file?" People have asking these questions. So you have Fox News, you have Mr. Daniel Boala, I see him all over the place. Fox News will come to Nigeria and interview the president. Trump cannot talk, and an SA or a PA will reply Trump. I saw the Minister of Aviation replying Trump. Mr. Daniel Bola is replying Trump. Reno is replying Trump. Everyone is replying Trump. The man likes power. If he has spoken, only the president or the vice president should speak back to him, not advisors, not anymore. Everybody just hops on to social media and speaks. And not whether they are right or wrong, but you have to look at your opponent and say what the opponent is, how he behaves. Trump does not like being belittled, and this attacking. You can say, is he God? No, but it's just strategy. If you want to get something from somebody, you study that person, then you say, this is how we are going to approach him. The idea of everybody, can you imagine a minister who just talk and say, Trump, you are not informed? The president, whether he's informed or not, why do we have, it doesn't matter if he's informed. You are the one that wants him to take away the CPC. So you look at the way the tariffs worked. He put tariffs, people came. It doesn't mean he's right, but the UK girls, but they've gotten a relief. So I just think that our approach is a bit wrong. He wants Tinubu to speak to him and explain what's going on. If you can't speak to him, go to Fox News or Newsmax, bring them to Nigeria, fly them to Plateau State, go to the governor, bring the Christians, do a town hall, and hold that town hall in Plateau State with the folks that have been killed. And then explain to Trump that what is what's going on is going on from 1960 to date. Yes, Christians are being killed, but there is no state-sponsored. The key word here is state-sponsored genocide. I disagree with you, but I think there is genocide, but is it a state-sponsored genocide? That's where we might disagree. I don't think the state of Nigeria is sponsoring a genocide, but there's genocide going on.
But to add up to what you're even saying again, I think another advantage Trump has now is that the Christian clerics in the Christian kingdom are rising up, because they've also been complaining, because those that have been notably quiet about it, Trump has given them that voice, and they've been saying that this thing has been going to do it had happened before the election, because then they feel so. I think right now we need to manage the situation, and that's the federal government.
Not to inflame it.
Managing
Not to inflame it. Correct. You can't have Reno talking. Yeah.
That's one of the strategies. That's one of my favorite minister. I've forgotten the information. I don't know whether it's doing Absalom or I try to remember. The thing that this government is missing is that you don't throw attacks with attacks. You don't do that. It can't work with the United States. Insulting their president or saying things like he's arrogant. You're just hitting yourself below the feet. We're not saying that you should lick their feet. We are also a country of dignity. But I think there's what we call diplomacy, and there's a way diplomacy can be played in such a way that, because you see, even the Canadians at some point, when they said something funny against Trump, they had to even apologize. This is a powerful country, a country that is in the G7, a country that is one of the richest in the world. So I think we should not exaggerate our importance. We are 230 million, but in terms of the economic size, we are peanuts in the global economy. When you look at our trade, many states in America surpasses us in terms of budget. So we also need to look at our economic consumption. The fact that, yes, we are growing as people, but we are not what we think we are. So we need to dive down on those things we talk like as if because that's one of the problems I have with people. You are not somebody, you're trying to be somebody, you're trying to insult, you're trying to be involved. You're making it harder for the president, because whether you're saying it from the point of being an official, you're saying it on behalf of Nigeria, and that's how the foreigners will take it. So I think the president's team really need to work on themselves. On particularly, they need to allow the foreign ministers to do their job, diplomats do their job. Because sometimes when I look at some presidents, I try to check what they do. Some of them, maybe because they think they can handle diplomacy. Some of their speech is totally wrong. Like so far, from what I've seen from the information side of the presidency, they've added flame, on a burning.
A minister cannot tell the U.S. president he's uninformed. I'll leave it there. Let's go to Omar Logo. Omar Logo, how you doing? We've gone from the economic side. We touched briefly on genocide. But back to what's your take? The economic impact of Trump's focus on Nigeria. At the very beginning, we said the CPC is an economic. The end of the CPC is an economic action that must be taken if the Congress does not settle it. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to everybody on this space. This is it. I've listened to so many people. I can hear a bit of fear, a bit of pessimism, all of that from people. But I'm going to be very optimistic. How do I start off? This is now the time for us to actually appreciate the president for taking the hard decision of subsidy removal and some other Naira, defending Naira also, because if he had not done that, we would have been borrowing to keep on sustaining a petrol supply and all of that. So, but Nigeria has gone through the hardest parts. This is just turbulence. The Trump impact and the CPC pronunciation is just turbulence. And turbulence does not mean anything. Yeah, it can bring a bit of fear, but we'll weather it and then we'll get to the other side and we'll enjoy the cruise. Now, this is it. So for me, the president, if you look at around the world, President Trump has made some statements. I follow a bit of the economy from Canada, from China, and all of that. He had made some comments initially when he first came back to office this time. Initially, yes, there were shocks, there were turbulence and all of that. But guess what? It no longer apply anymore. When he gave China the I think 100% tariff or so at the point in time, it didn't really the market didn't really react. The market maybe just only had one impact a day and then moved on the following day and recovered. Same thing happened to Canada. Canada had gotten a 30% tariff, and Canada is still sailing. Canada added 60,000 jobs, unprecedented for last month. Yes, unprecedented last month. So Canada is just cruising. You have wondered that, maybe Canada should have gotten much more impact and all of that. But the country is cruising. So hence, if you also look at it, I understand the aspect of SWIFT and all of that. Yeah. And I also agree that there are nations that we should make sure we have ambassadors do their job, no matter how the cash squeeze Nigeria might be going through. America is one of them. We should get an ambassador for America. In fact, all the top 5 countries, they should have an ambassador, no matter what the economy is saying. We should get them back in to do their job. Then also, I believe the president knows this because he made mention during the fake meeting that they are already having a high-level diplomatic talk with the U.S. government, and of course they will not come and be discussing the integrity of that diplomatic talk with us, with the regular people, So they will do their job, get the listening ear of Trump. When they get that one, Trump might, because for me, I think it's even a blessing to Nigeria. Look at it. I'll give you a quick example. Super Tucano, Nigeria bought 12. It was under Trump. You can imagine, under Trump first term, Obama was ready to sell it to us. Trump said, okay, he waived the lay law for us, but give us a condition that we can only use it in the Northeast. So this will be a good time now to reach out to him and say, we've attacked them in the Northeast, but you spread to the other places. Can we now, can you allow us to spread our wings with the Super Tucano and many other newer weapons, maybe drones and all of the rest, and intelligence, So this is a good bargaining point for the government of Nigeria to now get to bargain and then be able to secure the north. As we're also doing that, we should also be careful of the bandits and all of that spreading downwards, so we also need to be careful of that. The lucky part is that President Tinubu himself is an economist. He's not, I'm a Buhari fan, but he's not a Buhari. So he knows how to weather all of this. He knows all of this. So that's the beauty.
Yeah. I would say at the very, very beginning of your submission, I was very, very worried because I heard you say Canada, China. We're not Canada, we're not China. I gave the stat that 99 or 98% of our foreign lending is denominated in either dollars or IMF SDRs. We're not those countries, so we have to be pretty careful. Today, Dangote is our largest non-oil exporter. Dangote is also our largest refinery. Where is Dangote's largest market? Is the US. Where does Dangote buy crude oil from? From the US. Where do we get most of our our services from? US. Where do we go to university? US. Our foreign reserves? US. So I at the very, very end, that gives some very good points in terms of that. Listen, this is an opportunity, not a threat for Nigeria. We should go back to Trump and say, Trump, we agree. There are things happening that have sort of gone out of our hands. We have the Tucano. We want drones. We want intelligence. We want you to trace the money. This is what I want to hear the government saying. Again, you said that the president is working behind the scenes. Yes, well, we're hearing Mr. Buhari talk. We're hearing Mr. Iyamo talk. This is not working behind the scenes. We're hearing them say things on Twitter. I know the president will get a summary. They will read the metadata is what they're going to do. They're not going to read the particular tweet, but the metadata will say that Nigerians are saying are either for or against. So again,
Yeah, quick one. We need Buhari to speak. I'll tell you why. While the president and his team are doing the background talk with Trump, you also need the buy-in of the American populace. You cannot be talking to Trump alone. You need the buy-in. So
Buhari is talking to the American populace. I don't think so. He's not going to Fox. He has not been anywhere of significance. He's on RT. He's on BBC. I follow the US news. He's not been anywhere. The news, if you want to talk to Trump, you can't, if you want to talk to a guy from Kano, I can't go to STV. I go to BBC Hausa. You've got to go to Fox. You've got to go to Newsmax. He also does podcasts. You've got to go to those podcasts. It's a guy. All these podcast guys, honestly, if you want to speak to them, if you tell me, I will send a DM.
Did you listen to Carson recently?
Tucker Carlson is not on Trump's camp. If you understand what's happening in America right now, Tucker Carlson is under a lot of pressure because he was siding with anti-Semites. So Tucker is not the guy you go to. And whatever Tucker is saying now will be viewed by the government as this is the line of the opposition. Believe it or not. You go very, very smart. You get a consultant, they'll tell you who to speak to. There's Nick Salter you can go and speak to. There's Benny you can go and speak to. There are many guys. He does podcasts. He does news. You can't have everybody speaking. You can't have Keyamo telling the US president that he's not informed. You don't, whether he's informed or not informed, you can't have a minister. This is a minister. So he's for the government. He can't do that.
Almost to when he said that, the president has, yes, I totally agree to that. There's high level discussion going on. But the optics is bad. Look at what Kalu raised. A lot of Americans we hear that, and Trump is somebody that is quite egoistic. You're saying the president is, that can really hit back badly, And you also need to also understand that we don't have that power, to face off the United States. So it's better to cool things off. And the president's approach has been top on. For himself, he has not said anything carelessly so far, but people around him, and that's the funny thing about government, whether the person is aide or a minister, he said under Nigeria said this, so the Americans will say, okay, these people are really taking us for, and whether the high level, the optics will go bad. And the market doesn't care whether a high level discussion is going on. You will notice that the coming week, except something positive comes in play, we're expecting further downward. The market has lost 5 trillion naira from its peak. I'm talking of the stock market. The stock market was at 99 trillion, going to look like it was going to be above the 100 trillion naira mark. Now it's about 35 trillion. Now the week is starting. We're still looking at the market quite shady. There's the leverage risk outside the market. So I think it's very, very important for us to let the president understand that
we don't
need
need the
one
risk.
voice.
Gotcha.
We need one voice. Yes, we need one voice.
Gotcha. Cyrus, you had this up. You don't want to add anything real quick? I go to Francis. Cyrus.
Yeah, absolutely. I think someone described it better that Nigeria does not miss the opportunity to miss opportunities. And this issue is about geopolitics. And we have 2 windows of opportunity, just to say it fast. The first one was our alignment, right? When this president came to power, we saw how, he went to the United States, went to NASDAQ, gave a speech, was allowed to, win the opening bell in NASDAQ. And, we felt like, okay, fine, there'll be some kind of realignment from what we used to have, with the West, which for me makes more economic sense. And then we started moving from then to going to China, to Saudi Arabia, to the UAE and stuff like that. And started having certain territories that may not even help the matter. Then that was with the Biden administration. Trump came in. You could see Shettima going to organize the UN conference talking about Palestine. Now, I don't care where your alliance lie, right? This is the thousands of miles away from us. We should, the position of Nigeria should have been neutral, right? He went in the first time giving a speech about Palestine, and the second time giving a speech about the role of the US and Israel in Palestine and Gaza. Those things don't make any sense, right? And I think Nigeria as a country needs to define its position politically and what favors them in terms of their economic position, not just the political or the religious or the ethnic position, but the economic position. Because most of this tension and this the undertone of it all is all of this that build up to this thing. And like everybody else said, the data is clear. Nigeria has more to gain aligning from a purely economic point of view. Nigeria has more to gain aligning with the US than with China or Russia. We do, right? Because in terms of our economic exposure, there is more, economic exposure with the United States. Chevron, Shell, ExxonMobil, all our oil companies are from the United States. The United States companies, like I told you the last time, the person that was talking to me was an analyst from Shell. And the thing on their mind, because Shell is trying to expand his tentacles in Nigeria, more on oil and gas, is that should we go on with these things? Because here we are hearing our president saying that this and that. The same thing with others like that. So I feel like we don't need a geopolitical mismatch, where on one hand we are looking for an economic alignment with the United States, and on the other hand we are politically supporting China or Russia or all these other guys. It doesn't make any sense. And the other window of opportunity that we had was that when we had a high volatile inflationary climate and we have high interest rates, we're pumping in hot money flow, getting in portfolio investment. We were not doing anything to reduce the barrier of trade, right? So we had all-time low FDI. There were all-time low equity investment. These are long-term investment that stay for long. But you're not needing of those things, right? So you were just feeling that, liquidity will go up, we will ration demand, we will reduce the money we spend on interventions and whatnot, and it will be fine. But the truth of the matter is that in the long run, what you're supposed to do is to create a safety net for yourself, whereby there are companies here, their investment here, their capital here, capital retention here, and then whatever happen. But we did not do that. And now the inflationary climate is changing, right? People are looking for other frontier and emerging markets to invest their house money inflow, and Nigeria is no longer that favorable. So what then do you do at that point in time? So those are the 2 window of opportunity I feel like we meet. Our geopolitical position, number 1, and number 2, in terms of the hard work of removing trade barriers, of ensuring that there's seamless trade. And I've been saying this for a long time. We've had 2 years window. We've not done that. Because if we've done that, I remember when Obasanjo came in, In the second, third year, you will see the bounce in investment confidence in the real economy. Now we don't have that. And that is where we are today, because we are still at the mercy of portfolio investment, and we continue to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That's very good. Just a news flash. I think the U.S. Congress might have struck a deal to end the government shutdown. That's what they're talking about. They might go on to vote a package of bills to open the government. Why is that important? If the government is opened, the CPC clock then starts, because for now there's no Congress. Kingsley, hi, Francis. Francis, how are you doing? Please hop in. Francis Jr., Imarebe Jr. Please hop in, sir. Dr. Udo, how are you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing great, Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing very well, sir. Welcome to. We're talking the U.S., we're talking the economic impact of Trump's focus on Nigeria, the CPC, its impact on the economic side. What's your take, sir?
Well, I think a lot of people have already highlighted the key points, right? We have seen how the Nigerian market has reacted. The euro bond has spiked, especially long-term bonds our sovereign bonds, the ones that is expiring in 2050, the long-term ones. And even though they probably might start to rally back, but the key things that we should be looking at is not just the threat, it is the actual follow-up when the report that he ordered has been brought to him, right? Remember in his tweet, he specifically asked Congressman Riley Moore and Chairman Todd Cole to report back to him, and in the same breath, he then also instructed his Department for War Secretary Pete Hegseth to prepare a war plan. And this is a very typical Trump way of doing things. He shows a man that actually begins to lay out his options while waiting, to take the action. So that means he already knows what he's going to do, but he just wants first to follow the procedures. And so I'm a little bit more concerned because I know what would be the outcome of that report. The outcome of that report is going to be pretty much straightforward. It's not going to pander to sentiment. It's not going to pander to lobbying or diplomatic, trying to find a way to see how we can cool this down. This has passed beyond cooling it down. The only way we can avert what is coming, I think, is action, right? To make sure that we begin to ramp up the pressure on the terrorists. These terrorists have address. They are on TikTok, they are on Instagram. How come our police are able to locate anybody that insults the president but cannot locate people that are beheading pastors? We saw a Christian Association of Nigerian pastor being beheaded. So those are going to be the economic impact. So the primary sanctions, the secondary sanctions, America is going to sanction. And what I like about America is that America is so intentional when they do things, so powerful, and they have people lining up, to help them to achieve their objectives because of how they are being positioned in the world economic nerve, right? Because one, when they begin to, I think someone was mentioning that we have a lot of American companies doing businesses, and that's true. From Chevron, ExxonMobil, a lot of big American corporations, Schlumberger, a lot of American banks. If our banks work together with American financial system in terms of financial reconciliation and all that, what I mean. So that means when those sanctions come, they are going to be obligated not to do business within the Nigerian government, and also other countries that depend on America, the European, EU, Asians, also they will be affected with the secondary sanctions. Because the secondary sanction actually says that if you do not obey the primary sanction, we are going to also stop you from accessing the American market. Everybody knows what the American market is. American market is the cream of everything in terms of making money. If you want to make money, go to America, sell in America. That's where you make money. If you bring anything to you want to sell it and make money, you go and sell in America. All right. So we don't want to lose access to that market. I'm hearing people talking about prioritizing the Chinese over the America. Well, good luck to that. I mean, I'm not against most of these fancy economic ideas that some of you have. But I can bet you that even the Chinese would love to do business in America. Everybody wants to do business in America. So this is the time that President Tinubu should put on his thinking cap. Someone called him an economist. I don't know how true that is. I don't want to speculate, but if he's an economist, then this is the time for him to, bring in his economic skills, but also put it with his diplomatic skills and try and see how he can avert the next stage of this conflict. But we are just in the beginning now. This is just the beginning, and this looks very Trump-like. Like, I know I'm following Trump for a while now, and I see chaos from afar. When if you know how Trump operates, he thinks ahead, right? So I'm beginning to think that he has already made up his mind that he's going to strike some terrorist hides out in Nigeria at some point. I don't know when, but it looks like he's going to do that. But then it looks like he's going to
just to be clear, that's speculation, just to be clear, because the process is the designation. Congress can have a deal with the president. Like, Congress is going to be open, I'm sure, what I'm reading now next week. So they can call, the Democrats can step in and say, okay, what's going on? Let's have a hearing. Let's bring the folks in, and then from there we now can say, okay, what's really going on? Is it a deliberate and intentional attack on Christians, or are Christians being killed? But it is not.
But you understand that what you are just saying is not true, in the sense that in America, American presidents do act, and even Congress will come out and debate if they had the legal authority to do that. It has happened many times.
Understood. But look at the point I'm making, Doc, right? Today we're bombing Venezuelan boats. He didn't go to Congress for that. There's a reason why he went to the Congress for this CPC. He doesn't need CPC to bomb guys in Nigeria. The US rescued an American in Nigeria. They didn't need the Congress. The US came to Nigeria and took their nuclear reactor a few years ago. They didn't need Congress. So if Trump wanted to bomb Nigeria, he doesn't need to go to Congress. The point is, he's gone to Congress for a reason. He wants them to establish if there's genocide, because if there is, it allows them to do non-economic measures. I think his ultimate goal is economic measures. That's why he's going through Congress, because that's what gives him the right to then impose. Remember, he's in the court now for tariffs. He's in the Supreme Court for tariffs. So he's thinking ahead, like you said, okay, if I can impose tariffs on Nigeria, how else can I hold Nigeria to account? Economic means. How do you hold them to economic means? CPC designation. It's written there. Must.
Okay, but then when you talk about Venezuela, right, but the Congress has actually also does not recognize Nicolas Maduro as a legitimate president, and they have been calling for restoring democracy. They actually recognize the other guy that is in the United States as the president. And also Congress has backed targeted sanctions and also oversight and diplomatic measures in Venezuela. But what they have not authorized the U.S. president, right, is to use force, right? But so are you saying that the American, the Democratic aisle, have approved, because I've been watching the news, they have not even that they are approving of this strike on these boats?
What I'm saying that the military action is not set in stone. I'm saying that there's a reason why CPC path has been followed. There's a reason why Trump went to through CPC. If he wanted to strike Nigeria, doesn't need the Congress. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't need Congress to strike. He struck Iran.
I agree with you, but I think he just wants to go through the formal process of doing things where he has all his options on the table. Yes. So the economic side of things, I think, will need a lot of congressional approval, and to make it more potent. Probably he wants to also have those on. But I don't disagree with your point that maybe the military action might just be the last option, right? I do agree on that point. Actually, I am looking at it from the angle that he's not even interested in a sustained military campaign in Nigeria. America at this point is so engaged that I don't think they want to even commit to any long-term military intervention in Nigeria. The only thing I was looking at was just a one-off, limited, just symbolic strike to just prove a point that, look, hey, we can do this if we want to, and we can come in if we want to, and then they will just close that case. That was the angle I was looking at, not really like a sustained military angle. But yeah, I get your point as well, that he's more interested in probably getting Congress to do most of the work, and not he himself coming in to probably try to send American troops. So Yes, all right, Kalu.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Let's get Anila in here. Anila, how you doing, sir? We're talking, of course, you see the topic. Anila, your hand is up. Go for it, sir. Anila? Audio is, your audio is bad, sir. Can you fix your audio's echo on your audio?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Is it clear, please?
Yes, it is.
Good evening. So I'm going to be talking from my own point of view. Not I'm not representing anyone, just my own view. And little knowledge I have about international politics and relations. When many people come on stage, since this issue of Nigeria being on the CPC list has emerged, people just come in stage and talk and say maybe international relations politics because the way they play or they beat themselves up at the football pitch or when they are watching football in the football room or whatsoever. It doesn't work like that. And so, Mr. Khan, I'm going to agree with you on what you said the last time about Trump focusing on the economic aspects of this whole issue, right? But I can say for my own personal view and understand that whoever have it in mind that Trump is going to fire a single bullet in Nigeria over this issue is just being the person is in La La Land, because that is not going to happen. The worst that can happen, the worst that I see that can happen, among all the many options that will be left to Trump to make, if Paraventure is going to make anyone, if placing sanctions on anyone that have intelligence on sponsoring these so-called terrorists, that's the worst that I believe. Even if it is not any top Nigerian government official currently, that's the worst that you can do. But shooting a bomb, throwing a bomb into Nigeria, even targeting the military, except in Paraventure, the Nigerian military seek for his help, like for US help and what have you. But without that, Trump will not use any military action. We should just move our mind on that. The counter sanction. And I'm basing my opinion on that. This is the fact that Nigeria is not an advanced free country to US. We are practicing the same system of government as they are. We copy almost everything, except the politician that we have. Except the politician that we have, we copy almost every style of their government. Most of their business people trade there in financial market, in financial sector, oil sector. They are top companies. In fact, you mentioned about Dangote Refinery having been one of the largest trade partners of Nigeria to the US, buying crude from them and also selling refined product to them. And if this is not about this issue of dividing Nigeria, I can't say maybe that's propaganda anyway, but looking at the pages of those white people that are posting about dividing Nigeria to 6 places, talking about this ocean boils down to. Okay, Mr. Kalu, please, can I ask you a question?
You got very limited time, so go ahead. Last question I want to go ahead.
Okay. Please, the other time Ibrahim was talking, I don't know, Mr. Ibrahim was talking, right? And I was talking about the fact that there are killings in Nigeria, no doubt about that, but there is no genocide. And you are trying to define what genocide means by saying that the intention of facing a particular tribe ethnic, right? Now, can I ask you a question that what is going on in the Northeast? Is it a genocide?
If you ask me as a Nigerian, because I know all about Nigeria and all that, I would say that the issue is in the middle belt, not in the northeast or the northwest. I think the issue with the Americans is the middle belt. If you notice the pastor that they said of Trump watched,
the issue that was like that they were using as a cover up. According, I don't know even what I read is true or not. Well, because what I came across after, because when things like this happen, we don't just rely on what one person say. It was that there's a particular, there are some Biafra agitators that was paying some US Congress in the particular amount every month to lobby the US government to recognize the state of Biafra, which in turn they plan, number one, the last coup that failed, that led to the removal of the service chief last time, and bringing up all the new service chief. Don't let us forget that the Nigerian government, we may say they may not have been trying enough. We lost General Lagbaja last year. Chief of Army Staff we lost him to these terrorist bandits. There are so many maybe was leading men in the war front and he died. And everybody will come.
The point is that.
Especially the Nigerian president. Okay. Are you expecting the Nigerian government, the Nigerian president himself, to take gun and arms to go and be fighting these terrorists? Let's analyze that.
Who should hold on?
We watch video. I will answer your question, please. We watch videos of these so-called people in some areas, right? Jubilating with these terrorists whenever they come into town to buy things from them. They snap picture with them and be celebrating. See, the people love the evil that they have. Let's face the fact. So now everybody's pushing the blame here. Tinubu is not doing it. Tinubu is not doing that.
Yeah, but there's
don't forget the old thing started before now.
And it doesn't matter.
We love the chief of army.
Hold on. It doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter when it started. It doesn't matter who started it. We have a president today. That's the point, sir. When you become the president, you take on the baggage of the yesterday and the future of tomorrow. You take everything on today. So the Tinubu is the president. When Trump input the first CPC, Tinubu was not the president. There was another president when the first CPC was put on. Buhari came in, Biden removed it. So we can't make it personalized. Trump is saying there are killings. Are there killings in Nigeria? Yes. The question that Nigerians are debating today is, are those killings of Christians genocide? Is it an intentional act by the state to go after a particular religion to remove them? That's the question. But are Christians being killed? Yes. Are they being killed by non-state actors? Yes. Are those non-state actors part of a grand strategy by the Nigerian state to eradicate Christians from Middle Belt? That's the question that we need to ask. And I think any good investigative that can go beyond Nigeria, trace the money, trace the videos, will give you that answer. But I think let's move on. I think you've made the point clearly on what you want to say. Yeah. Let's go to Favor. Favor, go ahead, please. Favor Emily.
All right, good evening, everyone. And special thanks to you, Mr. Kalu, for putting up these wonderful topics out here for us to discuss. And I know we've always been talking about the how it affects the money market and if this is a genocide or not. But then I also want to look at it from the perspective of the non-investing street citizens who doesn't understand the money market, who don't even understand what the Eurobond is all about and how it affects every other thing. But then let's look at how it would affect them. The street woman on the woman on the street who doesn't even understand investing. So I'm also thinking of this certain thing because you made mention of how it likely might limit the importation of fuel for Dangote. So which would involve that on the worst case scenario, let's say the Congress opens up and they establish that this is a CPC and then that it's a genocide. So I'm thinking, what on the worst case scenario, how can this affect this topic I just made mention of? I'm also thinking of the Congress. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Yeah. So we've talked about the airlines, we've talked about people who understand this whole investment stuff and talking about the numbers. But then there are people on the street, because when you roam around social media, you understand that 80% of people who contribute to this understand nothing about it. They think it's all about bombing the country, the wars, and then you see a lot of comedies and gist going on all about it. So I think a little enlightenment on how this would affect the street markets, like the street citizens, non-investing street citizens, I would choose to call them. Mm-hmm. So I was able to point a couple of things of how this might go along with, if on the worst case scenario, emphasis on the worst case scenario, the Congress opens up and is established that this is a genocide and they need to take necessary actions, which mandatorily would be an economic sanction. Okay, so it simply means that whatever we think is the rate of inflation now will become nothing to write home about, because after the trade sanctions, some of this is going to increase. And of course, Naira will weaken. And the fuel and transportation rise would also increase, which would mean that the food and local services will follow suit. And also there will be an import cost rises because almost everything we use in this country is majorly imported. Some people might argue it's imported in China that if we trade towards Chinese, and then that might be true, but then it doesn't deny the fact that it has an effect on the least common man in the streets, who might not even understand that Trump had an effect, or there's a Trump effect in all of this. So part of the things I also want to say is this. yes, we've established the fact that it affects the worldly class because probably regulating the whole share prices and the money market and the rest of that. Yes, it will affect them. And if truth be told, the people this would affect the most are actually these non-investing street citizens who might not even understand, who might not even have a little idea of how these things happened. All right? So I'm also saying this, if there are things that should be done, just like you've actually started in the past, I'm not sure this is a time where certain individuals will start tweeting because they are influential people in the country. Like certain governors will come in to say that, yes, there are also killings in the East, that are Christians that are killing Christians. Some other people would say also that Muslims are killing Muslims. I don't think these are part of the things that should be debated now. It's actually so.
No, I like your point about the economy. Olumide, you heard this. Do you have any other non-quote unquote financial sector impact that is out there that perhaps we should be aware of? What will happen if, like Flavor is saying, this goes south and we have to head on number? What are the non-quote unquote investing impacts of a US CPC?
You mean on the market right now?
Not on the market, like he's talking about the normal day-to-day guy. I'm not an investor, but I have a shop in Aba, or I have a factory or a farm in Kano. What happens to
the non-investing street citizens? Yeah,
definitely. If the sanctions, look at the sanctions that probably could hit Nigeria. Okay, then God forbid, look at what's happening in Russia, for example, where the banks were moved away from the SWIFT network. Nigeria heavily imports a lot of food outside the Western African economy. You also need to understand wheat is not really an African crop and it's one of the most popular staple food in Nigeria. So that will really be trouble. Then, Dangote, yes, has reduced petrol importation by a third, but we still import petrol. So, yeah, it's really going to increase the cost. And, we already have half of the population in abject poverty. So, I don't think it's something that plays out good, honestly. Also, you look at food inflation. I mentioned food here. You look at food inflation. Yes, the rebasing has brought food prices lower, but you also need to look at the fact that we've not gotten that food security in shape. So we still depend on imported food. So, yeah, definitely. I think it's not looking good anyhow. And the reality is, like one of the speakers spoke about the fact that I think people are missing the point that President Trump really wants to attack. I'm not even looking at the point of him throwing the bomb. I'm saying the weight of the fact that he's already looking at this on Nigeria. It's the timing. It's something we need to be worried about because, see, like I said, he doesn't need to throw the actions before the optics are already damaged or to the market. And the problem we have is that policy made people that really make this that say statements on behalf of government. Sometimes they look like as if they are soothsayers. They believe that no, this is not something serious. It's something serious, very serious, because Bloomberg, CNN, Fox News, Al Jazeera, Euronews, they all carried it. In fact, I write for other markets, and for the first time I saw the Naira impact on many of these channels. And the reason why is because foreign investors are keen to look at how will Nigeria market play out, because don't also forget that some people are wishing that they take a shot on Nigeria, so it's also an opportunity for them to make more money. So I think it's best for us to understand that it's not that we need to hype ourselves. It's not about hyping ourselves whether it's right or wrong. The impact is already there. We can't withstand America's economic muscle. Okay. Nigeria doesn't have that.
Okay, real quick, let me hear the impact on two things. I see Bitcoin is now back up. It's all green screen. Now it's now 104. Bitcoin is back up. What will be the impact to Bitcoin holders in Nigeria? And number two, what's going to be the impact to remittances? Let's just say worst case scenario. Or what do you think? Is there a narrative with Bitcoin remittances? What's going on? Is it going to go up, come down? What's your take?
Worst case scenario, I don't see any effect on Bitcoin Nigeria. Yes, in terms of quantity, but quality of users, I think America is the Bitcoin market in terms of ETF, traditional finance, and inflows. So liquidity, Americans hold the sway in the Bitcoin market. So it pretty much has little restriction. I think yes, it does in terms of restriction, because I was surprised to see that many crypto apps in Nigeria still don't work. Carlo, that's really a surprise. Particularly on
What do you mean work? Sorry, what do you mean work?
Like, for example, you can't browse, you can't really check your app because the only time you can do that is through Wi-Fi. So I think that there's this kind of shadow ban. It's not really so. For example, if you are just on the MTN or Blue, I don't know. I've spoken to other people and I think they affirm that, but I don't know if it's a general thing. But you can't really do that on the cellular network. So there's this kind of shadow ban. So definitely, it's not so easy for those. But for remittance, it's very tricky. Remittance, if we are removed from the SWIFT network, then it means Nigerians in diaspora will have difficulty sending money. Because, see, apart from the crypto market, America owns finance. Let's be honest here. In terms of SWIFT, the blockchain, America controls finance. So, if even those that were sanctioned were removed to SWIFT, when the Russians were trying to use the blockchain, they got a lot of problems because firewalls. Americans have invested so much in blockchain technology. They have, and they are also using that to track their citizens in terms of tax receipts. So they would find a way to block that. So I think remittance definitely will be negative. And remittance plays a huge role in Nigeria. In the last decade, we've been averaging $20 billion a year. So God forbid we remove that from the banking channel. You know what that means for Nigeria. So Kalu, I don't see anything positive in that.
Gotcha. Let's get Toby in here. Toby OT. Let's get Toby OT to fall in. Flavor, thanks for your contributions, Flavor. Toby.
Yes, thank you very much. I mean, I just joined the conversation.
Yes, sir.
It's definitely an interesting one, and I feel like definitely Trump's, because it doesn't make sense if you're on one hand saying you want to save Christians that are Nigerians in Nigeria, and on the other hand trying to sanction the country and stifle the economic of the country. So how are you trying to help?
But that's the law. Trump didn't pass that law. There's a law in America that says, I don't know the exact name, but the law says that they passed what's called the Religious Freedom Act or so, right?
No, they didn't pass it yet. It's just proposed.
No. There's a law. It's since the year 2000 or so. Every year they publish a report based on that law. They've passed the Religious Freedom Act. So every year I can push for you. Every year they'll say China or Eritrea or Sudan or Boko Haram is not keeping in line with that act. So the act is passed. Then every year, State Department will publish that report and say this country is not in accordance with that act. When the president gets that report, that's when he acts. So this year's report, when Trump first came, he put Nigeria in that report came. When Biden came, Biden said, yes, they are killing Christians, but it's not because of a genocide. Biden said it's because of climate change. Then Trump has put Nigeria back because the report would say Nigeria is not in compliance. So there's actually a law there. Trump didn't pass that law. What Trump is doing now is saying...
But to this, for Trump putting it back, me personally, I feel like it's just propaganda from right-wingers, from right-wing politicians, because right now, this should be nothing of his focus.
It was there in the first term.
It was there.
It was there during Biden.
He put a lot of Muslim countries on that CPC list.
No, my brother. Let's not. I hear you, sir. And if you want, I can share. I'm going to share it on the tweet handle now. There are many. China's on that list. Saudi's on that list. Eritrea's on that list. Sudan is on that list. Tajikistan.
I get what you're saying, but none of these countries is not threatening to send bombs in there, guns blazing. It never threatened China. There was the report that China arrested 23 Christians. It never said it was going to go save those Christians from China. So Trump knows what he's doing. Me, personally, I feel like this is just his way. He's looking for a way to stifle the 2026 election, because in the grand scheme of things, right, he's running a country where the government has been shut down for 40 days, literally 40 days. There's 20 million Americans on the verge of losing their insurance. there's 40 million Americans that is stopped from getting the SNAP benefits. So there's a lot of more problems that he is facing and his party is facing for him to be concerned. No, I'm not saying these things are not happening. Even in their write-up, in all their press releases, none of them have said there's a genocide going on in Nigeria. All they keep saying is it's a mass murder. It's a mass murder going on in Nigeria. Christian persecution. If a bomb is dropped in Nigeria, it will be very, very disastrous for the country. It will not pan to it will take us years back, because right now we can't even build proper infrastructure. Imagine having a bombed, raged country. It won't make any sense. There will be a lot of mass migration from the northeast.
Toby, do you live in Nigeria? I'm sorry, I'm not putting you on the spot. Do you live in Nigeria? Just
right now, no, currently, I'm not.
Okay, so are you aware that in the middle belt of Nigeria, the entire middle belt of Nigeria, that the farmers have what that state is called the food basket of Nigeria?
Yes.
There's no farming going on there. Now, are you aware that if I take the inflation in Nigeria, the reason why you have rice at 50,000 naira, inflation in Nigeria is caused directly because there are no farmers in the north, central, northeast of Nigeria. What if I told you that? So look at what I'm saying. In Nigeria already, there's already a bomb. It just didn't explode with fire. It exploded with inflation. What the country is going through now is that in the middle belt of the country, there's no farming going on. There are IDP camps. So inside Nigeria, without a war being officially declared, we have internally displaced persons. The population in Nigeria for IDPs is more than nations at war. Then we have the World Food Program is in Nigeria today. We're not fighting an official war. World Food Program, IDPs, sky-high inflation and insecurity to the level that you have the government negotiating with armed non-state actors. That's already a war. So there is no change. If you say, I totally agree with you, if Trump drops even a banger in Nigeria, everything will change. It will be turned to a Christian versus Muslim issue. The whole thing will be lost. I agree with you. But to then say because Trump is facing SNAP benefits, crisis in America, he should not look at this same country that ran to him. Nigerians ran to America in 2012 and reported a sitting Nigerian president to the then American President Obama. Nigerian governor, some in PDP, went to America.
I think that one was more based on him having a free and fair elections.
No, it wasn't. They said it was because of Boko Haram. They went and reported that they said President Goodluck Jonathan was sponsoring Boko Haram to kill Muslims in North. The report is there. If you read Shegu's book, you see the Governor Aliyu. It was Governor Inyako that said it. I'm quoting you names, so you're not giving rumors. Governor Inyako of Adamawa, the state that was under Boko Haram attacks, went and said President Goodluck Jonathan was sponsoring Boko Haram to fight Muslims in the north of Nigeria. He went to the United States and told the U.S. president. So today we have now gone to the U.S. We've taken the ant-infested wood back to our country. Now we then say U.S. should no longer come. We are okay, U.S. We got you. We got this now.
No. We are not okay. We are not okay.
Exactly. So you can't now say because Trump is facing domestic issues, which every U.S. president faced. When Obama was reported to Nigeria, he also faced domestic issues. He also faced issues, but he came. He sent Kerry here. We sent drones here. There was a U.S. base in Nigeria.
Yeah, so he can send Marco to Nigeria and assess the issue and assess the situation instead of just being on Twitter threatening the country.
But he's always on Twitter. He's always on Twitter. That's where he communicates. So Toby, I completely get where you're coming from in terms of okay, he has issues, but to then say those issues are because of 2020. Come on, how big is Nigeria?
No, I'm saying
do the Americans know when you're in America?
I feel like Trump wants to wage a war.
If you hold any American and say, show me Nigeria. Do you know? They don't know what Nigeria is. They don't know about Nigeria is. Unfortunately, those 3-letter words. They don't know where Nigeria is, and you know it. So, do you think he's going to use an inconsequential, not Afghanistan, not Venezuela, that is going to be swing states, Latinos. It's Nigeria that we don't control it. We're not in the house. He's talking about Somalia. He's talking about Venezuela. He's talking about Haiti. That's what he talks about. He doesn't talk about Nigeria. He's never spoken about Nigeria till today. He's never.
Because Trump gets fed what to say majority of the time.
He gets fed what to say.
Yeah, from his right wingers, because Ted Cruz has been pushing this way before Trump got involved.
All right.
Riley, the rep Riley, has been pushing this before.
I make the point, sir. I make the point again, Toby, that in 2012 there was no Ted Cruz, there was no Riley, and Nigerians went to America, and sitting governors, PDP governors, went to America and reported the sitting Nigerian president to the American president.
Okay, so what did the president?
Including the sitting president.
So when we now say that the VP was among, what did he say? What do you think he said? Why do you think we had the elections that we had? You're asking what did he say?
Tinubu himself was in the White House. He was there.
What are you talking, sir? Toby. All right, Toby, let's move on.
What's your point?
Hold on, Austin, don't take out the pitch. Austin, calm down. Toby's making a point.
If there's a bomb drop in Nigeria, the economic effect.
I totally agree with you. I completely agree with you. I think you are right. We should, under no circumstances, if I could advise Trump, under no circumstances, even if he sees the militants with guns, I would advise him, do not go kinetic on Nigeria. I would advise him, under no circumstances, because it will backfire. Already they are protesting in the north, and I'm sorry, I don't want to single out. In the north, they are protesting Trump. I hope they also protested the bandits. Bandits come into town and buy whatever. You see pictures of bandits are in town, and they are jubilating with the bandits. Then they are burning an effigy of the guy that says, "Okay, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, Toby, but let's leave it alone. Let's just put on the economic side."
Can they work in tandem? Okay, the US leads intelligence, and the Nigerian soldiers lead with foot on the ground.
You know what I think, Toby? Toby, you know what I think? Do I give my conspiracy theory? I think that the US government gave Nigeria intelligence, and Nigeria did not act. Hence, Trump went off and said guns blazing. This is my personal view. I think they got the Nigerian government and said, listen, this is what's going on here. Deal with it. And I think the Nigerian government did not act. Hence, Trump then went guns are blazing tweet, because it doesn't go like that. He's put that tweet on purpose to prompt an action, and you can see the action already. You see, every day now is Tinubu is meeting with the cardinal, the army is rotating criminals everywhere. So that's what he wanted. And I saw a killing in Plateau the other day. 12 people were killed in Plateau, but sort of the temper sort of calmed down. Maybe that's what he wanted. So in the end, if people don't get killed, no matter how it's achieved, there's a win. If nobody is killed today because of a tweet from an orange man, that's a win. Let's take that win, because we don't live there. We don't live there, and people are dying.
And Carlo, another interesting dimension, because the topic is economic impact. I think the biggest loser will be agriculture. The largest employer of labor in Nigeria is agriculture.
Yes.
And if you look at where how systemic agriculture is in the northern part of Nigeria, it's where also we have these banditry issues. Yeah. And you spoke about the middle belt, and that's where my concern also is also being amplified, because it has a chain effect on even the stable areas like Lagos, the southeast and south. So it's really going to have a spontaneous effect, negative effect, because if the supply chain, agro chain is affected, then we are in serious trouble. It's only palm oil and cocoa that these cash crops that are really predominantly in the south and are wood, but most agricultural products are from the north, including cattle. So
there's a guy called Nigerian Farmer. I don't know if you know him, Nigerian Farmer. Also, I follow him. He just did a tweet this one and said he's going to sell off his mechanized tractors and all. Why did he say he's going to sell them off? Because there's insecurity. He's in Kwara State, so it's moving southwards it's in Enugu. Enugu guys were protesting that they're moving southwards, and if all this happens, who will import food to us?
Exactly.
America. The same America we're accusing of America is trying to stop the war so our farmers can farm. We say no. So, but if the war continues, who will win? America will import meat to us.
I know. The honest truth is that me personally, I prefer no interference. I
Same
prefer
here.
Nigeria to handle. Yes, I prefer
Same
Nigeria
here.
to handle. But we've lost that credibility, to be honest,
Same
over
here.
time, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And you see, not even without even the. I think when you mentioned the governors in 2012 that visited White House, I even think that's perfect. You need to understand the evangelical influence on President Trump. And you also need to understand that even during the inauguration, he invited some powerful Nigerian evangelicals, like someone like Pastor Kumi and that popular pastor that sings, to tell you that he has affiliation with the Nigerian Christian community. So, there's a lot of things that are going behind the scene, but me, I'm more focused on the economy
Well,
side.
see, Olumide, look at the difference. Well, Toby asked a question: has he gone into this country or that country? I think the reason why he's mad with Nigeria, I think there's no other country on earth where you have bandits killing people, and there seems to be a lackadaisical response by the government. You can talk about if the government is ineffective. You can say, like, if you go to say maybe what country can we? Maybe Sudan, you will say, okay, maybe the government is ineffective, but they're not lackadaisical. That's I think the anger is coming from is that why are you killing? Why are people being killed? A guy asked me in America a long time ago that do we have an army in Nigeria? A guy, I remember this clearly when Chibok happened. The guy asked me, "Does Nigeria have an army?" I can understand you guys have an army. That's what they do. He thought really there was no army in Nigeria. That was why Boko Haram is all over. Maybe that America should. That's what he thought, that there's no army.
And Kalu, just to highlight, affirm the things you said, if you look at, after you mentioned that thing, you just need to see the number of powerful senators that supported, like Ted Cruz, Graham. These are strong hawks in U.S. Military.
Yeah.
It tells you that support is there.
Right.
Yeah, even though you say right.
Toby,
yes,
Bill Maher is from where? Bill Maher is who? Bill Maher started the whole thing now. Bill Maher is a liberal that gave Obama $1 million. Where is he from?
Let's
get Kilo in.
But the most important thing for us here is that we need to get these things right, because it's not something we can throw on that. It has a very huge side effect. I was telling someone, I said, see, we're talking about businesses, right? Once these things hit, the chain effect, we can't control it.
We'll suffer.
It's not something that you can switch off the mic, and that's why I said that. And that's why on Twitter, I'm always against some of these government officials that don't know how to tweet. Because, see, you are tweeting on behalf of Nigeria. Whether you are tweeting right, professionally, let people that handle diplomacy, foreign diplomacy, do their job. That's why me personally, I don't go. Yes, I have opinion about other things, but I try not to amplify it because I'm not an expert or I'm not a reporter in that part. So I try to allow people that have better informed expertise to make those analyses. I think that's the problem we have.
And we need a meeting with Marco Rubio, and not Trump. We need a meeting with Marco Rubio.
What's the difference?
No, because Trump.
What's the difference? Okay, Toby, let me ask a question, right? When you call a normal American, white guy, Caucasian guy, and you ask him one word association, you tell him Nigeria, what does he say? One word association.
The first thing that comes to his mind is Pavish Kamin.
Good. Now, for the last 1 week, Nigeria has been in the news, all the news, blogs, news, all the news. So what's the second word association if you ask him about it? What would he say? Second word association now. What would they say?
You guys are killing Christians or Christians.
Good. This is why what is happening today is very, very important. Because this will go away. Trump only has 3 years and he will go away. But these things linger. If we do not communicate properly and attend to this properly, we're going to go and bring a guy. The guy will say, "Oh, that country they kill Christians." He has no basis. He doesn't know where he headed from. But after 5, it's in his subconscious that in Nigeria they do this. The same way when we think of New York, we think of skyscrapers. But New York State is lush land, valleys. So we have to be very careful what we're doing. We can't be banting about conspiracy theories that Trump wants to take over Lekki. That's why he's bringing soldiers to America. We have to be take this very, very seriously. Whether Trump is a maverick, we know that. So if you want to talk to Rubio, go talk to Rubio. I don't have a problem, but we mustn't bomb Nigeria, and we must take this very, very seriously. Kilo, what's up, man? Kilo, hop in here. Kilo, go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
Toby, thank you so much.
Carlo.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I think the reason why Trump is doing what he's doing is largely because of what Nigeria has been doing the last 2 years with respect to its stance on the Israel-Palestine issue. If you look at all the people that have been complaining and pushing this whole genocide comments and everything, these are some of the most Zionist voices in the U.S. For instance, Cruz is going about talking about genocide, this genocide, that, blah 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 blah. Cruz is the same one that went on Tucker Carlson, and when Carlson was bringing out arguments against Israel, he basically started calling Carlson, who is also a right winger like him, an anti-Semite. The Imam that you are talking about, the Imam is one of the most Zionist voices, all the arch-Zionists on the left. The Congress people that you are talking about, a lot of them are also pro-Israel people. What Chetima did going to the UN General Assembly last year and this year, talking about how there should be peace in Middle East and Palestine, and how they want to not close the eye on Palestine, angered the US. You and I know that the Israel lobby in the US, and it exists. Let nobody sit here and say it doesn't exist. The Israel lobby exists. The Israel lobby isn't happy that these things are happening. Are you wondering why all of a sudden they are talking about white genocide in South Africa? It is because the South Africans are the most fervent defenders of the Palestinians. So of course,
Kilo, bring this back to economics. Bring this back to
You
economics.
cannot attack them on any other thing. They're talking about white genocide and all of that, which is not happening. On the economics part, the truth is Nigeria can survive US sanctions. We have survived it before.
When did US sanction us?
In the 1990s.
And then what was our GDP in 1990s?
Wait. Let me land. Because what some of you are saying here is not born based on fact.
Yeah, what was the GDP in
Yes,
1990s?
expansion in the 1990s.
Okay.
They're actually going faster than now.
What was the number? Let me pull it up. Yeah, what was the
We're
GDP?
going at about 5%.
Let me pull it
We're
up.
going at about 5% in the 1990s.
Okay. GDP. I'm
I'm
talking
talking about during the Abacha period.
Yeah.
So the idea that Nigeria cannot survive under sanctions is not true, because they have sanctioned us before. In fact, it was the sanctions that pushed us to become a democracy.
I'm amazed you're
I
saying
am
this.
not saying,
I'm amazed
I
you're
am not
saying this.
saying, please, can you let me land? I am not saying
Amazing.
that it is great for the country to be sanctioned. That is not the point. But if there is anything we've learned from the Russia issue, the Russia-Ukraine war and everything, is that it is very difficult to sanction a major resource producer, especially oil and gas producer.
Is Nigeria a major
Very
resource
difficult.
producer?
See, the thing is, you know that it's very difficult to sanction a country like Nigeria. Yes, I know we are not like 2-3% of global supply of oil. I agree. But where it is going to be difficult is that there are a fleet, there are like lots of oil tankers that would circumvent any US sanctions. So the whole idea that somehow Nigeria will not be able to survive US sanctions, even though it is not the most optimal thing that we should be hoping for, is not true. I still say it under the Abacha system.
What year?
Nigeria was brutal and everything. I am not going to be one of those people that will do apologia for him. But Nigeria was able to surmount it. Yes, it came at the cost of there was persistently high inflation and we had some lack of investment and everything in our sector, and we racked up lots of debt. but we were still able to grow faster than what we are growing now. What we are growing now is not still comparable to sanctioned Nigeria in the 1990s. In fact, that's one of the things that pisses me off the most about this current government. Because Nigeria is not sanctioned to that level. We should be growing at 7-8%, and we are growing at 3%, 4%. There are people that are jubilating that we're growing at 4%. It is not something to be jubilating over. This is sanction era level of growth that we're experiencing. Now, the thing is this, for me, I understand what people are saying about the whole thing of the Nigerian army basically dragging its feet. I would partly agree with what you are saying. The part I disagree with you on is that I think one thing that we have come to learn now, because at first one of the conspiracies you used to hear was that that it is people in government that are basically sponsoring these people, and so they are doing them for political reasons, everything. So you have Jonathan. Okay, you could make the case for Jonathan. Okay, people made the case for Jonathan. Buhari came in, a northern conservative Muslim came in, and you are still having the same issue. Okay, a northern conservative Muslim was replaced by a southern liberal Muslim, and you are still having the same issue. So it shows to me that the problem, and of course this current president was in Washington in 2012 or 2013, complaining about how there was insurgency and everything. What it shows to me is that Nigeria does not have the capacity to police its borders. It shows to me that Nigeria doesn't have the capacity to police its borders. The opposition, anytime people are in opposition, they say a lot of things. Peter Obi is saying a lot of things now. When he gets into office, he is not going to do better because the capacity of the military has been severely diminished. A few years ago, the first carried that the Nigerian military was posted to about 33 of the 36 states. 33 of the 36 states. The Nigerian army, I'm not sure, is up to 150,000 men. So if you are posting 150,000 people to 33 out of the 36 states, like you can imagine how widely stretched out they are. The Nigerian police is not up to 300,000 people. 300,000 people. That is the population of Etios and local governments. The whole Nigerian police force. So there is no capacity to fight these insurgents. Even if you pump in the money, which
Kilo. Allow us to come back now. So yes. Kilo, look at it this way, right? Who can hire? Who has the power to hire army and police in Nigeria?
It's the federal government, of course, but the truth is Nigeria really doesn't have the capacity.
Okay, but who could have hired in the military and the police and didn't? Who could have done that? The president?
So Jonathan should have started it.
Okay.
Jonathan should have started it. And I have to say this. I think I've come on your space before and I've talked about industrial policy. This example, what is currently going on, where Nigeria is going cap in hand to ask countries for favor. The truth is, Nigeria, Nigeria should be producing a good chunk of at least the rudimentary of what our military is using. Because we don't have an industrial policy where we are able to produce at scale things like bullets, things like.
But we have DICON in Kaduna. Why isn't it functional? Who runs DICON, the federal or state?
No. I'm not going to say it's of course federal because the military is
okay.
Under the.
So Kilo, look at where I'm going to with this. Look at where I'm going to with this, right? I don't think anything you said is wrong, apart from you saying that Nigeria can survive a sanction. In 1990s, what was the remittance rate? What was it? In 1990s, there was no remittance flow the way we have it today. There was no internet. There was no Bitcoin. We are not importing. Our refineries are working. Today, the wheat we are eating, the bread, agege bread, is imported. The wheat is imported. The sugar is imported. Did you live through essential commodities? I lived through essential commodities. No Nigerians line up to buy sugar. If it happens again this time, I don't know what's going to happen. Our SWIFT network sending money. We can't. So, Kilo, again, we cannot. Don't say it to come at a high cost. We cannot survive a sanctions from a major economic power for more than a week. It's not going to happen. It's not going to. The PMS. Kilo, you are speaking in superlatives. Dangote had a small crisis with Pengerson. What happened? Mini crisis. What happened?
Went up, yes. Because we're in democracy now. The thing is so people can come out and shout and
I don't know what to, I don't want to tell you. Do you know what will happen? I don't want to say.
So the thing is, the Americans should sanction us, which I don't hope they do. But if they do so, what the Americans will effectively do is that, first of all, to wake up a lot of especially a lot of our political class, because you know a lot of them have assets, which ill-gotten assets stored away in those same countries. So, of course, it will affect them directly. But America will be making a big mistake because it will force our Western-oriented elite into looking at China. A lot of them are not China.
Kilo, you are making arguments for the long. Listen, you are making arguments that happen in long term to today. I am telling you that if this afternoon, we hear that the U.S. president has placed sanctions on Nigeria, dollar will go to 2,000 naira this afternoon. Then hold on, sir, hold on, Kilo, don't test. Wheat and sugar today, this afternoon will go by 100%. This afternoon. So by when we wake up, when we wake up on Monday, we would have $1 2,500. Rice will be 100,000. PMS will be 2,000 naira per liter. We have the PMS too, but replacement pricing is what will happen. You are saying Nigeria will survive with that in more than a week. I'm not sure what you're saying, sir.
Wait, let me explain now. So what will happen? Let me follow the logic of your question.
Kilo, there is no logic on the question. I'm telling you that the country cannot survive this. So we're all economists here.
The country. So the thing is, the next day or days later, the Chinese government, the Chinese ambassador will be in Aso Rock.
Okay, doing what? Okay.
Between the Chinese and Nigeria.
Beautiful.
So, effectively, what will happen?
Okay.
What would happen is that a good portion of Nigeria's trade will now be dominated or denominated in RMB.
What's it today? What's it today? Kilo, what's it today? Kilo, what's it today? Kilo, what's it today?
Let us even hold on first. Kilo, sorry.
What's it today? Today that we have a swap deal with RMB in China. Last point, today the US today is 56% of our total debt. The donation. IMF is 40.
Yes.
40. So between the IMF and the US, that's going to be 96%. 96% of our debt is US dominated.
I want to add something here for Kilo so that you can understand.
I know what he's talking about. He said, ambassador of do swap deal. Will we eat swap deal? Will Agege Bread eat swap deal?
I just want to put hold on, Kilo, don't hold on for just 2 minutes. I'm not going to go beyond that. So, if you look at Nigerian banking industry, for example, all Nigerian banks are corresponding banks in the FX market. Are you aware? All Nigerian banks are corresponding banks. Are you aware?
We'll switch to Chinese SWIFT. We'll go to Chinese SWIFT.
And apart from Standard Chartered, which is a UK bank, which is corresponding is their UK and Stanbic Bank, we have
to London,
which is to Standard Bank of South Africa. Most Nigerian banks are connected to American banks. Are you aware of that? So this is the thing. So this is the thing. I get what you're saying, and I get what Carl is saying. You see, times have changed. You know what? Things are now interchangeable and very sensitive. Now you look at, that's why I was telling people yesterday when they said Nigerian stocks, last week when they said Nigerian stocks will not react just to react to yeah, I get where they're coming from, but they don't understand the optics in the global financial space. You see, what Carl is saying is not even the fact that, okay, the directives, the chain reaction that will come is beyond our comprehension. You're even talking about wheat, you're talking about petrol. You see the FX market that is even saying 2,000. That's really when you see FX. It's maybe you see FX to withdraw. Do you know that? Okay, let me know that as I speak to you, there are many banks in Nigeria that will not give you more than $6,000. Even if you have $200,000 in your account, they will tell you that they don't have cash, that they can only give you. Are you aware of that? I'm just trying to tell you, I'm not trying to play the scale. I'm just trying to tell you how I'm not trying to tell you how so we have a local problem first, liquidity problem.
Do you have any Chinese planes in Nigeria?
So that sanction definitely will hit beyond measures.
Let's not even go there. So
let's not go to that part. I think what we should focus on right now is on how we can.
It shouldn't happen. Yeah, it shouldn't. Let's not even go there. It will be disastrous. I mean, I said it like I asked Toby. Like I asked him, what is the first thing you tell Caucasian Nigeria? He'll tell you 419. Second thing now is this religious thing. Whoever started it, all these things people are saying. Nigeria went to UN. The president of Senegal went to UN, and it was even more direct. He accused Israel of genocide on the floor of the United Nations. Senegal and every African president that went there also accused Israel. It's not just Nigeria. Every African president. We staged the walkout. Hold on, Kilo, you talked a lot. When the other African countries came in, and they staged the walkout. You cannot say because Nigeria. So Trump was in his office. Then Nigeria said, President Trump said, let's go get Nigeria. We're not that important now. We're not that important. Honestly speaking, we're not that important.
Let me make my point. Let me make my point of why I believe that's the reason why. So if you attack the top two economies in Africa and you bring them to shame, you bring them to basically condemn you, it will put the fear of God in.
Nigeria is not the top two economies in Africa. There's South Africa, there's Algeria.
I know.
Let's move on, though.
I know. So I'm just using. So it's a very. Finally, I have to say this. I know you did not say it, but I think we need to be very clear about it. What is in the Middle Belt isn't anywhere remotely a religious genocide.
Your audio is bad, Kilo. Your audio is bad. We're not hearing you. Your audio has an echo.
Hello?
Go ahead, sir. Try.
Let me disconnect from my phone.
Kilo, your audio is bad. Yeah, Kilo, very bad. It's echoing.
Hello?
So, yeah.
I mean, we're all Nigerians now. Middle Belt is empty. That is empty. A few days ago, listen, on my Twitter page, I remember when we were arguing about letting people arm themselves. Why are we arguing to let people arm themselves? Because Middle Belt, people are being killed at night. The debate was that people should buy their guns and hold. That's what we were debating a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about there's no genocide, there's no killing. People are being eradicated. And let me say to an American, when an American watching this, they don't know whether it's Boko Haram or Middle Belt. They know Nigeria, right? Okay, but we know as Nigerians that the Northwest is bandits. We know Northeast is Boko Haram. Those ones are devils. They're not interested in whether you're Muslim or Christian. They are devils. When you come to the Middle Belt, that's where the Wahala comes. In the Middle Belt, you have farmers, and the farmers are mostly Christians. You have pastoral headers that are mostly Muslims. Now, the pastoral headers are killing the Christian farmers. That's a fact. The question now is that killing of Christians who are farmers, is that a state-sponsored intentional act? We know it is intentional to kill the farmers. We know this. But is it state-sponsored? Did anybody hold the meeting and say, we're going to go and eradicate Christians from Middle Belt? So that's what we can debate here. And we're all Nigerians. Let's not pretend.
But to be honest with you, I don't think there's any, as in official government stance that support the eradication of any.
And we agree, which is what we should communicate to Mr. Trump. He doesn't know this. Not to say UN nation Shetima. That's nonsense.
Yes, but we know that there are dark states and suspicious, because if you look at, I listened to the former Minister of Defense, Chief of Staff, Musa. That was just
was removed. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, he spoke on BBC. He spoke on the fact that he said that an handful of these terrorists is not foreign exchange and new weapons. And I remember on your tweet, you said it was like, how come a terrorist is using the new range of AK, I think AK-12 or something like that? And
exactly.
These are very intelligent questions, because one of these Americans are, when they want to track terrorism, is that you follow the money. And that's why I want us to be keen on the economic effect. I think for me, the positive thing is just that state-sponsored actors will be exposed. I listened to some popular theories, and they said, most of the people that have been hurt are the soldiers. We've not really had to know who are the major sponsors in these terrorist acts. We've not had that case. So I think the Americans now, with Trump, he has been emboldened. So if that comes to light, most likely, because Nigerians need to understand who are the people behind these things. It's not. I don't think for me it goes beyond, because it's more economical than political. Look at Zamfara, for example. Zamfara has a lot of gold. If you look at certain places in the north, lithium, there are a lot of minerals being developed. And, people ask me, one of the reasons why America is doing this is because of minerals. Well, that definitely merits. But you need to understand that one of the easiest places to steal natural resources is in Nigeria. Do you know the amount of smuggling gold that has been smuggled out of Zamfara? You know how much that a lot of Chinese were arrested for illegal mining, and that's why the Minister of Mines and Development is really working against illegal mining. So it also has a derivative, and that's why I like this topic. I think we should stick on the economic effect, because for me, yes, we could argue that interest is at play. I don't dispute that. The Chinese are having the power in terms of Nigerian resources, in terms of solid minerals. I'm not arguing against that. But the reality is that are we in better shape if the America is involved? I think it will be in better shape if America is involved diplomatically, and that definitely will bring in, because
there's a good point you're embracing here, that what if America comes and enforces a no export of maybe like a Kimberley Diamond scheme in Nigeria, where we say if you cannot get a certificate from Nigeria to export gold, lithium, or diamonds, you cannot export it. And the American government will say we're going to impose a no-fly zone. So if you're not flying from the international airport, you can't export these things. If you are crossing the border, we blow you up like Venezuelan guys are doing, because there's so much wealth that is driving this insurgency. Like the guy was just here. The guy that was here and said that only five local governments in Katsina. Katsina has maybe how many local governments are livable? And what is there is the mineral. It has not to do with banditry. The bandits drive away the people, then these guys go in and start to mine. That's what they are doing.
You know my fear. Yes, the short term will be these things will be addressed, but in the long term, interest will take hand, and when foreign interference, I don't think it ends.
Same thing in Liberia. Liberia, we had the diamonds. It caused a civil war. Chancellor came under the guise of whatever, but he was going for the diamonds. Same thing in Sierra Leone. The same thing. Blood diamonds is the exact same thing happening in Nigeria. But they've used tribe and religion to blind everybody. So now Trump is saying, like I said, I think this whole issue is that he told them something and they did not act. That's why he went full blast on that tweet. Because you can't tell me how a nation will sit down and swaths of territory have been taken over by illegal miners. Chinese miners, Albanian miners, they are there mining gold, lithium, and the country is doing nothing. I'm not my words. A senator, Shomole, was on air saying that retired military are there providing security, and these guys are mining. So we don't have drones. So the government cannot put a drone in the sky and beam those videos to all Nigerians to see. We can't even do that. No one. So if Trump did not talk about this issue, we will not talk about this issue again. We will just be saying, "Oh, it's my show." So if Trump did not tweet, we will be here on this space today. Come on, guys, something's happening, and we have to be.
That's why I said we need to change the conversation. I'm happy you are bringing the conversation in the right thing, because for me, I'm very sensitive. I understand how religion plays a cultural role in Nigeria, and I understand this, particularly in the Southwest, where a lot of people, Christians, Muslims, they cohabit. I understand that. Gotcha. But you see, like you said, the economic effect is the key issue here, because you look at what is driving, where are they getting the ammunition from? Where are they getting the FX from? Sure. You know, where are they getting the liquidity from? You know, and you know, like you said, these things are not cheap. You need to even gold mining, for example. If you look at the processing, from the cleaning to the excavating to, you require heavy equipment, you know, and so. Like you said,
guess how much the Nigerian Federation earned from solid minerals last year? Guess how much?
One crap amount. The very crappy amount.
It's less than what Zenith Bank Ilubeju made. It's not up to 50 billion. The entire Nigeria earned less than 100 billion. Less than 100 billion. From solid minerals. Come on. So there's something going on, and if you don't look at the economics of it, Tinubu is borrowing money. Tinubu is borrowing money all across the world, and we have oil. Ghana. Let me make this point. I'm doing Afolabi to speak. Ghana took their gold, and used cedis, their local currency, to buy gold from their gold mines. They took that gold to their central bank of Ghana. Their currency became the best performing currency in the world. Ghana, our neighbor here. So all Nigeria had to do was to print Naira. If you want to print, take Naira, local Naira, buy gold from Katsina, take that gold to the Central Bank of Nigeria. We're already doing it. Buhari did it. If you take the Central Bank of Nigeria, the reserves of CBN goes up, the Naira gains value. You don't have to borrow. We already have a program that we were supposed to have bought artisanal gold to gold bars, take to the CBN, and then Naira gains value. Why did we stop? Ghana did it. Ghana's currency this year was one of the best performing in the entire world. It's performing so well that it's even costing them to lose market. Their currency is so strong. Nigeria has more gold. We are doing nothing. Rather, we are chasing Trump. That Trump is known as highlighting the nonsense going on in our country. That gold is being exported, billions, and no one is talking. Afolabi, hop in here. Afolabi, Adio, thanks for waiting so much. I appreciate you. Afolabi, go ahead. Afolabi, ready to speak? Going once, going twice. Nnamdi, how are you doing, Nnamdi?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Afolabi.
Yeah, hello, Carlo.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm very good. Okay, so give me a minute, please. I just need to put my glasses on. I can't see. I was trying to put my thoughts before I forget them. Yes, please. So basically, in terms of the impact of Trump's focus on Nigeria, even somebody who doesn't have any economic knowledge, it can't be positive for Nigeria. And that's just the gospel truth. I personally am not very economic. I don't really follow the indices and all that, but it can never be positive for Nigeria if these sanctions come into play. And I just hope that this government can do their very possible best and don't allow these go to Congress or go to hearing, because if it does, the report can never be positive. I don't know how young or how old the audience here is, but we all know from the 1960s that there's a problem of intolerance, religious intolerance in a certain section of the country. And this is a perfect opportunity for this government now to deal with this decisively. A lot of presidents that we've had in that country did not, excuse my French, have not had the balls to deal with this. If they go by the dictionary meaning of genocide, the numbers of people that have been killed based on their religion in the country is terrible. All you need to do is just give an example of what happened to Deborah in our university. So I'll just quickly yield the mic and just say, look, we hope this thing doesn't go to Congress. We hope this government pulls all the democratic strings that they can pull. I hope they succeed, but if it does go to Congress, the report can never be positive, and the sanction will be terrible. It can never be positive. It's going to be, the economic impact is going to be terrible for the country. Thank you, guys.
That was very short, very sweet. I mean, we don't have to be an economist. It's not going to be a good idea. Let's get Ekene. Ekene, I am Ekene. Please go ahead, sir. We've got about 20 minutes to go, so guys, I'm going to make sure everyone has to be waiting patiently would speak. We don't want to hog the mic. Sorry about that, guys. Ekene, you've got the floor. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. And I've been listening here, and I think that the issue here, I think Trump is the least of Nigerian problem. See? And I wonder, I've been listening to a lot of people, I keep wondering, why is it that nobody has even, looked into the solution, like looking at ourselves to find the solution, instead of looking to America or, okay, let's leave America and join China, you see? So it's like in every way in the world, every aspect of life, the beginning of success is acknowledgement. First, we should acknowledge that something is going wrong in Nigeria. If something is going wrong, then how do we mitigate that? How do we solve that problem? You see? First, okay, when a group of people kill an entire village, take the remaining ones away, and rename their village, and do it in another village, and do it in another village, and they say it's not a genocide. What is it? That's the question. If there's no intention, why would you change the name of the people? If you are fighting with a man in his house, if you win the fight, you don't go and take over his house and change the name to yours. You see? So we should first acknowledge that something is wrong. Now, if something is wrong, the ball falls on the table of the president of Nigeria, whether we like it or not. You see? And this thing, this saying in Igbo that when things comes like this, yeah, it can be difficult to handle, even if you are the strongest and wisest man. But also, this defines you. This thing can define and say, yes, oh, this man I thought was nobody is actually a strong man. Okay? And this is an opportunity for people to actually shine and say, listen, yes, we acknowledge that something is wrong. People are dying. The acknowledge people, whether it's a religious genocide or ethnic genocide, genocide is a genocide. None of them sounds good. And any of them can bring America in, just to know. Okay? In fact, no normal Nigerian or nobody wants a fight in Nigeria. Nobody wants America to come in and fight. But if we have a country for a government that can't protect its people, then what is the government doing? If people today stand up and say, listen, something is happening, but I can't handle it, it's too much for me, please, I need help. Now he will find himself on the table with Trump, deciding on what kind of help you need. But if he says, oh, it's not a Christian genocide, or maybe it's a genocide, but that genocide is from our own. Because in Nigeria, we turn everything to tribalism. You understand? Oh, is this people? Oh, is Israel? We're looking for the problem everywhere, except in our own house, where it is happening. Okay? So this is the big issue. The economic impact will be devastation. It will devastate Nigeria and even West Africa. If you want to know, go to a place like Cuba. Cuba has been under sanction since 1959 or so. If you go to Cuba, they have relatives in America, but they can't send money to them. If you go there, they are using cards made in 1950 and things like that. You see, even though they have been in good relationship with China, US, but they can't change it. So if you want to make a call in Cuba, the cost of making a call is so expensive that you will decide to eat. So if this will happen, this is what Nigeria is going to face. Okay? Can you check how many Nigerians are living abroad, sending money? In fact, some of Nigerians living abroad are the lifeline of their families back home. Many of them. So you would think some of them just depend on them to send money mostly and mostly to eat.
They spend money to build houses, and people from there they get their own money. So if you think that Nigeria can survive this, if Nigeria cannot protect its citizens, if it cannot feed its citizens, how do you think it's going to survive an American sanction? So in order not to be too long, I think what I expect Nigerians here to say is this. We know that there is killing, and we see it. You see, whether it is our own that is being killed or our own is the killer, it's a killing. We have to acknowledge it, we have to accept it. And that's the only way we can move ahead. If we don't accept it, in fact, whether we accept it or not, it will not change America. So if they believe that it's a genocide, we don't have to accept it. That is what we should know. So the best thing we can do, let's agree. And it's honest, killing going on with. So let's move ahead and find a solution within ourselves in Nigeria. And then Trump will not have any reason to come. Thank you.
Thank you. And like I said, it's an opportunity for the president. Mr. Tinubu has got lots of contacts internationally. He can go through Macron if he wants to get to Trump and speak of radar. He can go through Rubio. He can go through Mr. Bulus, who is the advisor to Trump in Nigeria. There are many ways he can speak directly to Trump. Trump wants no killing. I don't think he wants minerals or whatever. So we don't want any bombing. We don't want any intervention. We don't want all that in Nigeria. And that's what we're talking about. The economic impact is bad for the country. Not just the bombs, but the branding. Like we said, ask an American what's the first thing that comes to your mind. Say Nigeria. What they tell you? 419. And you want to now come and add genocide? Really? That's not good enough. And let's get Jerry Nwobudu. Thank you, Ekene. Jerry, please go ahead.
All right. So what I just want to say is that we were looking at things from a peripheral point of view. I guess most people are looking at it. Okay, the problem of the economic problems, the challenges of lack of respect for people's religion, the lack of tolerance. But I feel there's an ideological difference between people up north and people down south. It's an ideological difference between.
Let me stop you there. We're talking just the economy. If you don't just focus on the economy,
Yeah. So economically, well, as economists, we know that the economy and the politics, the social culture are all intertwined, and we cannot, isolate the economy from ideology. But I'm going to focus on the economy anyway. Economically, is not a good thing for Nigeria. We see how Russia is even trying to escape sanctions. As big as Russian economy is, they are still, struggling, trying to evade US sanctions. And we see North Korea, we see Iran. The economy is going to suffer. We all know that, but there's still an opportunity. It's not like Trump is coming today or tomorrow. For me, I feel Trump as a deal maker, he's trying to pressure the Nigerian government to do something about it. Because these petitions have been in America for so many years, for over 10 years. Tinubu has been among those who championed these petitions in the US. So they're trying to get these Nigerians to do something about it. And also, the ultra-rights, the Republicans, they're Christians, and they believe Nigeria is, it's a country that, they need to intervene in. They need to be seen to be intervening, to gain the trust of American Republicans and American right-wing people. So I feel economically it's not going to be good for us, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to look inward and tell ourselves the truth. What are we doing about this issue for the past 30, 40 years? In fact, it's over 50 years because going back history, I realized that even in 1953, there was this crisis even before independence. There's this division amongst us, that we need to address. Even though the economy is going to suffer, even though we don't want it to happen, we don't want American boots on the ground. We don't, because we know, look at what happened in Afghanistan, look at what happened in Iraq, look at what happened in Syria, look at what happened when America intervened. It's going to be devastating, both militarily, both economically. But we need to tell ourselves the truth. How are we tackling this? As young people, as young professionals, how are we putting pressure on our governments? How are we putting pressure on our governments to act about it? even in our local constituencies, to our local government chairmen, even in places of influence. What are we doing about it? Is it about talking about it on the social media? How are we taking the next step to hold our leaders accountable? To make them really take account of the fact that lives need to be protected. Because what if Trump doesn't come? What if it's all rhetorics? What if nothing happens in the next 1-2 years? It's going to continue happening because the ideological differences between the Tuaregs and the Savannah will always be there.
I got it.
It will always continue.
All right,
And there's always this clamor for, first of all, for resources. Second of all, the Sahara is the global warming, it's getting hotter in the north, and the nomads are coming down south. So it's also an economic issue. It's one of the reasons why we're having this problem in the Middle Belt, in addition to the other motivating factors. But I feel the Nigerian government have been lagging behind for so long.
All true, Jerry. I couldn't agree. We just have to move the time along. I'm so sorry. I'm not cutting you off. All true. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Let's get Selena in here. Salim. Is this S-E-L-I-M? Salim. Did I get it right? Sam. It says S-E-L-I-M. So sorry. Go for it, Sam.
Yeah, I greetings to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm audible.
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for putting it straight. I'm just not. I'm not still pleased with you when you explain about the the tax reform. Though you tried the other time, but I was not really pleased. But that's fine. To your topic, the economic impact of Trump. What I just have to say is that it is very shameful that we need to come to this point that Trump has to say things. Just like you said, something must have gotten to him, and they must have want the leadership to do something about it, and nothing is being done. I don't want Trump to come into my country gun blazing, but if what he has to do, that it will stop the killings of innocent people, because there is genocide. Nobody should come here and gaslight anybody or try to change whatever it is. Like I posted, I commented, possibly ethnic cleansing, land grabbing, and that resource control. I think you mentioned it. It's a big deal, and it is what is happening. And my government is completely about it. The government knows about it. You understand? So if Trump should come, the likelihood of a sanction is possible. You are even saying 2,000. The Naira is likely to go to 5K. It's likely to go to 5,000. It's only those who understand crypto to some extent that are likely to evade whatever that is to come. Because almost 70 to 80% of whatever the things that are edible, comestible to Nigeria, they are being imported. Like the last speaker said, as strong as China is, Iran is, Russia, China, you understand? When they are faced with the US sanction, we know how it feels. If it's not for China, North Korea it will be able to stand economically, and we still know what North Korea is facing in the world. So we should be careful of whatever we say. People have lost their generation. None of my family is being affected in the north, but we can see how families are being pressed off from the face of the earth. Generation 6 to 10 generation wiped off. Then what do you call it? If it quacks, if it walks, if it sings like a dog, what is it? Is it not a dog? So what are we saying? I don't want gun blazing, you get, but if I have to take Trump, who is a bully, to make my government sit tight, you understand? It is the same government that went to the US. Have you all forgotten? During the Trump era, his first time, Buhari was seated beside him, asking, why are Christians dying? You understand? You can call it whatever it is, but genocide is happening, and the Muslims too are dying. You understand? The Muslims too are dying. Sure, you can't cut that off. You get?
Gotcha.
As the worst era of Jonathan in 2015, Nigerian economy was number 1 or number 2. We were having about almost 500 billion. Look at where we are. We are not even doing up to $300 billion dollars as it is right now. So nobody should come here and sugarcoat anything or see otherwise.
All right.
Thank you very much for this your topic. I hit the mic for now.
Well, I appreciate you, sir. All right, let's get Namdi. Namdi, go ahead, Namdi. Hi.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. First of all,
Namdi, your audio is bad. Namdi, your audio is breaking. No, it's breaky. I can hear you, but it's breaky. I don't know what's going on. Can you fix that? Oh, now let me move on. Fix that. Let me get Monsieur K. Namdi, fix that.
Drop it and bring it back.
Yeah, Monsieur K, go ahead. Namdi, fix that, please. Monsieur K, please go ahead. Monsieur K, the French guy. Monsieur K.
Hi, good evening, guys.
How you doing?
I'll give you sorry.
All right, no worries. Real Guru NG. Real Guru NG.
All right, Carlos, thank you very much. What I have to say is this. Let's have this at the back of our mind. Even if people are talking about the US dropping bombs and the sanctions, what it's going to, even without the sanctions, our economy is feeling the impact of government negligence on security, especially around the Middle Belt. I'm in the construction industry. The rate at which young boys are moving down east or down south from the Middle Belt and the southeastern part, the northeastern part of Nigeria is alarming. And sometimes when you listen to their stories, some of them will tell you things that will shock you. That the entire family was wiped away and they were the only surviving ones. And they had nowhere to go other than to come down here. They've become construction workers. These young guys were farmers before their villages were attacked. Because we discuss about grains, maize, and all that. And now there's another thing that we've talked about here. And I believe that America must have done their research. Maybe they had people on ground that took samples or questionnaires from people. Let me tell you, majority of these young guys who their community, their villages were wiped away and they came down south, believe that their government is complicit in what happened when they tell you their stories. And I think America must have had this. And that's what's motivating Trump. And see, the bad part of this country, we like to play along ethnic and religious line a lot. That rather than address a problem that will cripple us if not taken care of, it will still cripple us in the future. We're trying to play politics around it, trying to play sentiment around it, and people talking about whether we will survive sanctions or not. It is an opportunity for this government to nip in the bud, because even if America decides to leave us with our problems, we're still going to have big economic problems in the future, because our agricultural supply chain is no longer functioning. And this inflation that we think, that we look at and think that is getting better, is just artificial, except we fix the real problems. But I think we should focus more on putting pressure on the government to do the needful, rather than trying to defend it. These atrocities are happening. And I don't know why we talk about China there and China.
I hear you. I completely hear you. I want to get the economic side. I think we know it's happening. I don't think anything you said is off.
Yeah.
I like the migration story you're speaking about. When you remove people from a certain part of the country and you then take them to a crowded economy, of course, it then causes an overload of essential services there.
Mass migration.
Unemployment is happening.
Both on the receiving end and the sending, because the other place where we have vast area of land, they can no longer farm, and there is nobody there. These people that will chase them out takes the natural resources. Nobody is there to resist them. And in the new place they move to, get crowded, the little that they have cannot, it begins to weigh on the economy of those places. That's the disadvantage of this mass migration.
Okay.
Thank you. I will thank you.
I really appreciate that, sir. Really appreciate that. Let's get Oxley. Jesus. Oxley.
Carl, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. May I go ahead or?
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Oxley, you're
Okay,
next.
thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, first of all, just a word of condolences to our brothers and sisters who are going through what they're going through in the Middle Belt. I think it's always important to mention that. Second of all, so I'm going to address kind of the geopolitical angles of this and then the economic, and I'll be as brief as I can. First of all, in terms of our government's response, specifically Tinubu's response to this issue, it's been horrific. The minute another nation, a leader, in broad daylight says, hey, I'm going to take military action against you, what I would expect of a leader is to be on top of it, have a national address with your Joint Chief of Staff, your military, your naval, etc., and say to the United States, hey, we hear you, we're going to take responsibility for this, but at the end of the day, we're still a sovereign nation and we're willing to work with you to take care of this, but Nigerians should not be alarmed, etc., etc. None of that happened. The response to that threat, because above all, the responsibility of the chief executive of the nation is to keep the nation safe. And in that, I don't think Nigeria has had such a threat, international threat, since the Civil War. So for that response, it was myself as an investor, as a political analyst, geopolitical analyst, just shows me this is a man that's not in control. And a man that shows that lack of awareness and control can't possibly solve the issue. Which leads to my next point, which is, why is this issue what it is? And we have to, I think there's enough evidence floating around that there is complicity from various members of the government. And the key problem that we're facing is, once you turn on these cells and these kinds of terrorist, nefarious activities for political gain, it's very difficult to turn it off. Tinubu and all these folks know who's doing this stuff. But to go and tell them to turn it off is very difficult, because now there's financial interest, there's billions of dollars at stake here, right? So it's very difficult to turn it off. And that is why his response, not only initially, but subsequently, has been disjointed and has been quiet and very supine, because he knows the deal, because he knows those are his cohorts that are involved in this. Now, from an economic standpoint, interestingly enough, if I'm in the financial markets today, I'm probably not that worried. And why do I say this? I say this because a lot of the international investors, it depends on what your exposure is, whether it's equities, bonds, etc. But if I'm an equities guy and I'm highly invested in banks, I'm not going to be too worried, because quite frankly, the long-term fundamentals of the Nigerian economics, from my perspective, has always been poor. But then you have sectors, like for instance in the banking sector, where these guys show all these profits, and a lot of them are relatively healthy, and it doesn't represent the real economy. So how does that happen? So if I'm in the banking sector, I probably don't care, because we have now found that there are actors in the Nigerian economy that do well regardless. And I think that's very telling as well, right? That exposes a lot of things. In the long term, I think the next issue here is, why Trump is doing this or not, we'll never know. Because let's not forget, there are multiple interests on the U.S. side. You have Trump, you have CIA, FBI, etc. There are economic, geopolitical, and also religious reasons why he's doing what he's doing. And we can debate from here to eternity. I think what is going to be telling is, what action are they going to take? Because effectively, there are two actions that one can take. One is the militaristic action, and then two is the CPC/economic action. If Trump intervenes militarily in the situation, minimally or expansively, then that shows a very nefarious motivation for it, and there are geopolitical reasons for it, because the militaristic action is not going to solve the issue. You come and you bomb a few terrorists, there's thousands more there waiting to take their place, and then let's not forget that it might even galvanize these people. Yeah. Okay. So just to wrap up, so then if he wants to solve the problem, then the answer is targeted sanctions against members of the Tinubu administration. Not a blanket sanction that will hurt the country, but targeted. And if you levy those targeted sanctions, you'll see these folks move into high gear, because then it affects them. And when I talk about targeted sanctions, that's a threat of seizure of assets, etc., if they don't do what you're saying that they should do. But to wrap it up, I think the biggest question we as Nigerians now need to ask is, what are we going to do?
because it's very clear that the Nigerian has no friend or ally. We can't trust the government. We can't trust foreign actors. And the question is, what are we going to do? Because it now seems that our security and our safety is on us as a people. And so to finalize and to just drop it, we have put together an organization called the Civilian Accountability and Transparency Task Force that is focused on answering this question and empowering Nigerians to move forward. DM me and follow me if you want to hear more. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate that. Oxley. Guys, we're going to round out about 10 minutes. We're just going to round out the folks that are on the board are going to speak, and then we'll just give our thanks, and then we'll call it a day. Oxley, go to the floor. Go for it.
Yes, Carlo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Shifting focus to Ghana in West Africa.
All right. So, Carlo, you've actually been very lenient today. Some people have come here to say very awful things about it's okay. So the way I see it is, what is going on in Nigeria, particularly this mass killings that are happening in the north. This is my own theory, but I think it's not far away from the truth. The north, some elites in the north does not want the mineral resources of that region to flow to the federal government. Was it you or Lumide that mentioned that all the mining that has been going on in the north, whether it's northeast, northwest, north central, it is only 50 billion that was brought into the coffers of the federal government?
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. And what does that tell you? It tells you that the elites and their cohorts, their Chinese cohorts, the Albanian cohorts, the Armenian cohorts that come in everywhere have mines all over the place, not just in the north, all the way to in Oyo State. Even in Oyo State, you will see some minings that are going on, all manner of minerals. It is only 50 billion that came to the coffers of the federal government. Meanwhile, the south and part of southeast are, bringing trillions of naira that they share a part. What does that tell you? It tells you that some of this is it. Some of the elites in the north does not want the wealth of that region to come to the federal government. So they rather put chaos, sponsor terrorism, and do all that they need to do to make sure that no money goes to the federal government. And the guy that is the minister of solid minerals, who I see as more or less is a journalist, is a spokesman. He's supposed to be the minister of information. I don't think he cares that much. Since he became the minister of that solid mineral, that guy has been quiet. He's operating way below the radar. You don't hear him say anything. The only time you hear him say something is when they need to defend the narrative of the government, when they need to push the narrative, which the current Minister of Information cannot push. So, coming to the economic issue, what is going on in that region is pathetic. Why Trump became a little bit alarmed with the federal government is you have a government that is a state actor, and non-state actors are overpowering you. How? It doesn't make any sense. I was a young banker many years ago, and I know what is called base cash. You can open your Twitter and your TikTok handle. You will see bandits stacking money, 500 naira notes. They will stand it. 1,000 naira notes. Millions of cash, physical cash. They are brandishing it around. Are they saying that the SSS does not know how to track money? That even the banks do? That a bullion van is moving from location A to location B, is carrying money. They insert base cash in between, so that if any armed robbery happens on the way, that money can be traced until you get to the people that spent that money. Are they saying that some of these ransoms that are being collected, that the SSS or the DSS cannot insert cash that can be tracked to know where those monies are going, who are using those monies to buy arms? It's ridiculous. So what it tells you is that the government, nobody can convince me that the government of the day does not know, not the bandits themselves, but the sponsors. Some of the transactions that these guys do go through the banking system. Yes, a lot of them may be cash, but those cash
Hustler.
of these guys,
Let's start round up.
yes. Yes, so what I'm saying is some of these guys too have accounts on TikTok. Some of their accounts are monetized. People, they come live on TikTok and people donate lions to them, give them gifts, which they can. TikTok has a back end. How do they cash out their lions and all the things that they do? I would say so. Anybody that is coming to say, oh, Trump this, Trump that, Trump has made up his mind because he knows that if government wants to put an end to this nonsense, they can stop it. So, in conclusion, what I'm saying is there is an economic issue here. The economic issue is that some of the elites in the north does not want the money, the wealth of that region to go to the federal government. So they want it to stay in their hands, and that is why they are in cohort with Chinese, with some of these white guys that are running over the place, landing planes in the bushes and taking our gold and everything to Dubai. They know. So that is just a simple truth, and we need to tell ourselves the truth. And that's where I will leave it.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, guys. We're just coming to the end of the program. Thanks you all for being with us. Ishaka M.O. Did I get that right? And Antimo. I don't know if I got pronounced that right. Ishaka, are you good to flow? Ishaka M.O. and Antimo. I don't know if you can speak here.
No, I'm sorry. I'll just use the mic.
All right, perfect. Let's get Oluwasegun to just take us. Oluwasegun, hi, I'm going to be the last guy here to talk, yeah? What's in your mind? I need to be here for a while. We've been really talking around the economics of what's going on with the Trump threats, what the issue would be if he goes south, what should Nigeria do and all that. What's your take on what you're hearing?
Yeah, thank you, Kalu. I think for me personally, no country can actually survive the U.S. sanction. And this is actually by default of how world economy actually is actually designed. No country can actually survive U.S. sanction. Even the likes of China, India, even Turkey, of recent have actually been already cutting their purchase on oil to tell us how powerful we can actually be. Then, just on the insecurity locally, I think we are actually stressing too much on the solutions. If we pick up the Nigerian budget, for example, and type foodstuff in the budget, you'll actually find that billions are actually being allocated to IDPs. And just a rhetorical question: if insecurity actually ends today, what's actually going to happen to the allocations to food items in IDPs? So what I'm saying in essence is that we are actually funding insecurity locally. Talk less of the international funding. So locally in our national budget, I strongly believe no lawmaker should actually be funding. Should be allocated funds for IDPs. If there is security and all the people in IDPs actually return to their homes, who is actually going to be funding the senators with the allocations? I believe we're actually funding insecurity from within. That's actually my personal take. And nobody can actually survive, no country can actually survive the US sanction, and that's point two.
All right, so guys, it's been fantastic conversation for about, believe it or not, give or take about 3 hours. We're talking around the issues of the economic impact of Trump's focus, the CPC focus on Nigeria. We started off by explaining that the CPC designation is Trump. The State Department does that. Trump picks it up. He tells the Congress to sort of negotiate with Nigeria. When the Congress cannot negotiate with Nigeria, there's going to be an economic, and the word used there is must. There's going to be an economic, impact coming Nigeria's way. But there's a lot of opportunities for Nigeria to talk with the Americans, explain what's going on, and perhaps get assistance to solve this problem. Nobody wants any strike, kinetic or otherwise, or sanctions. Nobody wants that if you're Nigerian or even if you're in the US. But we want this to stop. People have got to stop being killed because they are just sleeping in their homes, and the Nigerians. This has got to stop, and I hope the president will look at this as an opportunity and not a threat. We can convert this into our benefit, liaise to the Americans, and get that help that we need. If it means we have to mobilize 500,000 Nigerians and get the US to sort of fund that, that's what we can put in front of them. It will cost the US nothing, but it will allow us to then boost our internal security with that help from them. We don't need a US base, but of course we need the US know-how, US involvement in the equipment, all that kind of stuff to protect the economy. We cannot afford any negative issue with an economy, not just the US. The bad press, we don't need it. So don't look at it as the US. It's just a bad press. The Swiss won't come here if we're accused of genocide. The Swiss won't come. The Chinese might not even want to be associated with us if we're associated with genocide. So let's not look at it and say, oh, we can leave the US and go somewhere else. We just don't want that. We want the Nigerian go to. Some parts are genocidal, some parts are just a breakdown of law and order in the northeast and northwest. We need to take control of Nigeria's borders, and inside the country has got to be safe for everyone to live and to prosper. So that note, guys, let's just say thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys again